Welcome back, ladies and gents. This is the Amazing Outdoors podcast. This is Brian Mays. I'm not even sure what episode this number is going to be because I've got a few to edit, and I've got a special guest today. We are located in Kansas, northwest Kansas. We'll leave it at that. I think this will be episode like 41-ish, maybe 42, 43. Somewhere in there. Somewhere in there, from what I've been listening. Yeah. Well, we got a couple, and I recorded one the other day. And, since Todd's going to sit along for the show notes here, I got Todd Freeman. He is a gentleman that I've been staying in touch with here on Instagram this year. And this is round 3.
Round 3. Third time is charm.
Third time's, well, this one's face-to-face. Yeah, better than that, internet and... I don't know. I think you have maybe it was me one time, maybe it was you the other, but the internet connection was not good for both events. So we're doing it again. And hey, this turned out way better because we got to share a field today. We're going to hunt a little more tomorrow. And I still think this thing's way better face-to-face than over the internet. Before we get rolling here, I do want to mention, like I always do, the podcast is being brought to you guys by Uplnd Outfitters. Getting close to the end of the season, and I'm still rocking these things with no holes. They're very impressive. And today, it was a cooler day. I thought about putting the long johns underneath them, but that sun came out and it warmed up quick, and I didn't need them. Had the long johns on earlier this week because she was a bit like Minnesota when I got down here. But Amazing is the discount code, just like the podcast. Discount code Amazing gets everybody 20% off. That's that. Rocking the SportDog collar yet. Trying to get some Patreon stuff going here in the next, I don't know, look out for it in probably more like February. But I'm going to try to do a giveaway there and hopefully you can get SportDog. You got your coaster.
Gotta hold the whiskey.
You got to hold the whiskey. So keep an eye out on Patreon. I'll probably put some stuff on social media directing people there, but we might have a giveaway for somebody looking to pick up a training collar coming up here. So those things are hard to coordinate, man. Nobody likes giving away free stuff, and nothing against sport, just any sponsor, period. And at the same time, it's kind of like I'm asking people to, give a couple bucks, but at the same time, I want to turn it all right back at the listeners. So it's kind of one of those hand-in-hand things that I'm not exactly quite sure how to deploy it yet. Still working on the finite details. So Todd, welcome to the Amazing Outdoors podcast, man.
Thank you.
I'd welcome you as with this big gracious welcome, but I've welcomed you 3 times now, so feel like a regular sit-in here.
Just a regular.
Oh, well, I definitely will say I got to enjoy watching your 4 short hairs run around the field today, and
thank you.
On a long extended trip like myself here on this. I think we're going to be down here for 7-8 days. Mm-hmm. It was very nice to be able to put my dogs up and still get a crack at some quail today. Mm-hmm. And shoot, I got that nice rooster. Yeah. That was, and when we shared one.
Yeah.
Missed one. Yeah. But I will say, even for where we hunted today, then the pheasant numbers are definitely, they're not what they have been the last few years. I think what people have been accustomed to.
Right. We also have in the past had actual true weather for the actual time of year.
Yeah. It's been a strange one.
Early-ish spring weather that we've had off and on with, hey, we're going to blast you with some slight Antarctic numbers and maybe even a little white stuff. So,
yeah. It's tough conditions right now, and this year in particular with the moisture, just in general. I know where we're sitting today. We hunted further east and a little further south than where we're at today, and that particular area for what it's worth, I think got some of the better weather by chance. It's kind of a micro case of where I think some rainfall and moisture did happen this year.
Yeah.
Excuse me. You could see, everywhere we went, there was water in stock ponds and things.
Yeah, and there was still some snow drifts around. Good snow drifts. There was a couple that second to last field. That one little trail road between the Milo bottom and the CRP field. That was pretty much all mud, and some of the snow was still there. So
yeah,
it's.
Well, we're gonna get into all that. You and I know each other more than some of my other guests now, but the listeners don't. Albeit you probably feel like you've explained yourself to the listeners a few times. But you are part-time guide now.
It's
coming off of more of a full-time
business for 20 years now.
Yeah, but you were doing it more almost full-time there for a while.
6 months out of the year, I was going and blowing. It was from middle into September till into March. Every weekend. Plus, I'm hunting myself. Plus, I'm guiding, outfitting for myself. And I was sometimes up to 100 days in guiding.
Yeah.
And hunting for myself.
Yeah.
In a regular, 3-month season. Or I guess not 90 days, but probably between 70 and 80 days.
Yeah. Regular nut. Just like some of us,
Upland junky.
Yeah. I will say that this year I did not get as many days in certain covers as I would have liked, but starting to approach, depending on how you want to slice the, season, do you want to include 2021 as a calendar year, or do you want to include it as a season year? It's one of the better years I've had with time in the field. It's been special for me.
I did a week in Montana.
Yeah.
So knocked off sage grouse, of course, hit the sharp-tail and huns again. That was early. I did not chase chickens directly for the first time in, I think, about 15 years.
But we did accomplish a mission today, which was a big one.
Yeah.
You were.
Yeah, I was very skeptical on how I be the first time since I was 10 years old until this morning that I hadn't killed a quail in an upland season. You're talking 35 years. And first bird, first field, knocked it off, little monkey off the back.
Well, I think you may have shot a couple times before that. I unfortunately, you were in the middle of my swing on every one of those birds, except for one. I think one or two of them peeled out the side, and I pulled up kind of, but they definitely were all loving on you.
Yeah, you had a slight straightaway to your left. That was not a great shot.
No, I kind of saw a dog out there, and I didn't feel comfortable with it. I didn't even really shoulder the gun. I pulled it up, and I was kind of waiting for that one to come just buzzing out the left where there was no dogs.
They definitely wanted back to those, back to that heavy cover. So.
Well, back to the Angel. We'll talk a little bit more about the things that we did today, and I want to talk more about Montana. But so you guide in 20 years. You're also involved with
Pheasants Forever. I'm the new Johnson County JOCO Pheasants Forever Quail Forever chapter president as of last Tuesday. So, which
is timely because the previous conversations we had, you were just
youth coordinator.
Youth coordinator. Yeah. So, which is cool because we one of the podcasts that's coming out. Well, it'll be out before this one. I sat down with Brittany French from Pass It On here in Kansas, and definitely she had a lot of nice things to say about you. She said you were one of the good ones.
She is a sweetheart and a doll. She is great at what she does. Her and Mike, Eric, just phenomenal job they have done, and it's just blowing up. It's great.
It's definitely struck a chord with a few folks that I'm trying to help out up north.
It does,
and I'm hoping we can get something going up there for them.
I hope so,
because that mission in itself, I think a lot of, well, as you can relate with Pheasants Forever, everybody's trying to do what they're doing. I don't think anybody's really been as successful as them.
They took off like gangbusters.
Well, and maybe I should rephrase that. They're going into places where we haven't been able to get to outreach. Mm-hmm. That is probably where that has been lost for about 20, 25 years.
Mm-hmm. It's really been lost. I mean, if I wanted to, which I already had my hunter safety at my middle school, you could get your hunter safety as a interest club.
Sure.
And tons of my friends that I went to middle school with all got their hunter safety because of it.
Yeah.
And that's not offered now.
No.
There's nothing to do with guns or anything, but you could take you took the course.
Well, and this is a whole nother rabbit hole, but in today's society with video games and the influence of violence in ways that we couldn't even fathom as kids. And just the prevalence of not as many adults at home when kids get home from school. I mean, most families, two parents work, or maybe it's a split family. And the opportunity for maybe a young kid who has never seen a gun to encounter a gun with a friend who, again, maybe doesn't have any training. So you got two kids, don't know what this thing is, influenced by video games that, they kill their buddies all the time and they just come back to life. Now, I'm not saying these kids believe that, but they don't understand the deadliness and the forever, the absolute that a firearm is.
Full context.
Yep. Yeah. And being able to teach that as a safety, public safety, really a safety course, but really a public safety. I'm lacking of the word. I want to finish that phrase, but it's very important. And I think because of politics, because of the stigma of the gun, you can't, or it is looked down upon in certain communities to be able to teach that. And some of those communities are the ones that maybe could be impacted the most by being taught some of these things. Maybe you could save some damn lives.
Yes.
And that's
things you do not know.
Mm-hmm. So that's a whole thorn in my side with trying to reach really inner city kids. Yeah. We're hunters. We come in, we look like the guys who carry guns, and there's a perception there. And I think we got a dog that just shit themselves in this place because it's rank. Well, I started to smell it, and I'm like, I didn't fart, so I'm like, well, and my two short hairs are the spoiled ones here, and they're the only ones in the house, so it's one of my two dogs.
Yeah, definitely. Mine, all four mine in the dog box.
You know what I changed up on this trip, and I'm just going to throw it out there, is that damn Ukanupa soft food.
Soft food. We talked about that last night.
We did. But it's the only way I'm going to get them to eat as much food as I want them to eat. Because if I just put dry food out, they're going to turn it down at some point. Yeah. And when you throw that wet food on top of the right amount of dry food, there's just enough wet moisture there that they eat everything.
Yeah. Well, you saw me tonight.
Yeah.
I picked up a couple cans just to bump them up, a little more fluid back in them. I do actually have some with me, but I don't have a pre-made. I didn't fry it up, but I take my deer scraps, the stuff that the trimmings that we don't eat, even the tallow. Oh yeah.
And cook it up. Run it through the grinder, cook it up. And I usually put about a cup of that on their food every night while we're out here, if not a little more.
I'll do a little sweet little throw in there. J&B Meat Market, Colby, Kansas. I used to go there and get his scraps, and which which if you're ever in there, go get the ribeye steak sandwich, pepper jack cheese with the lovely, delicious sweet potato fries, top notch. They're on the northwest side of town, or west side of town in Colby. Anyways, I used to get scraps from them just to beef up the dogs because, like I said, I was hunting a lot and giving them any kind of extra I could just to. I mean, they're an athlete.
Oh yeah,
they need that little bit of extra, and it burns through them. And you could see it in their coat and the way they perform. It's just a little bit more extra, so it helps.
I agree, and as there's a lot of debate about dog food and what's healthy for dogs. I mean, I got a dog over there that I swear has a heart murmur because we fell into the fad of no grain, and we were young couple, didn't know crap about dogs, and fed her that stuff as a puppy and up to about a year old, and she started having issues, and took her off that food. And now, granted, she still has a heart murmur, but it's gotten better to a certain degree. Hasn't gotten any worse, but yeah, she's got urinary incontinence issues because they say it's spay induced, but my other dog don't have it. She's never had grain free. So I don't know, ever since I've tried to think a little bit more of, well, they're an athlete. What do I need? And there's one thing that, these animals did eat, not too terribly long ago in their generational lineage, and that's damn meat. And I would think deer is damn close to what these things,
That's what their ancestors were taking down.
Yeah.
Snarfing it,
So I looked at it as, well, this is, just more protein.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're an athlete and you go out and run, you got to replace that protein. Oh, yeah. So there's a lot of crap you can do with your dogs, but there's also a lot of things that I think a lot of people overlook. I mean, this is free meat. I shot this deer. This is stuff that I would have thrown away and discarded. Yeah. And I get enough off of one deer that I can do probably 2 or 3 of these week-long trips and feed 2 dogs a little bit extra every night.
Yeah,
and I might say, knowing that I'm doing that, I might be a little bit more aggressive with trimming because I know it's not going to waste.
Yeah. Guiding big groups and cleaning their birds, I pop the hearts out.
Sure.
High in protein for them. Great, for the dogs. And so I've just done that for years and never had an issue with it. They really like it. So,
You should turn the base of that mic so you can get it a little closer to the edge. There you go. I'll edit a little bit of that out if I have to. So we should probably mention to the folks, Todd and I both are a little ADD. So we're probably going to jump a little around. At least we did in both conversations. And we kind of did all day today, too. So,
or BB in the rain barrel.
Yeah, it should be a good bullshit for folks.
It's all right.
So how was your fall? We went to Montana, and let's talk about that. But anything else highlight, or is that kind of can we spend 30 minutes ranting and raving about Montana?
Yeah, Montana was great. Got put up not a ton, but we did great with the sage grouse. Really focused on them 3 days.
Is that your first time hunt?
First time after sage grouse.
How was it? You and I are both, we eat meat, and you've had prairie chicken.
Oh yeah, prairie chicken. I've had woodcock. I've had
sharp tail,
all that.
Where does it fit in the flavor profile?
I've yet to try it. It's in the freezer, but I did it right. I put it in water so it didn't get touched. I'm just trying to find the right recipe to do it.
Well, now you got to have a recipe. And nothing against your decision, but I shot a prairie chicken this year, and that's my second one I've ever shot. And I don't come down early enough to go, hey, let's go kick these hills for prairie chickens. It's just not realistic. I'm about bird contacts, and I can go probably for the amount of energy I have to expend out of my dogs, I can probably move 4 or 5 coveys of quail. Yeah. So to me, it's more maximizes the bird contacts, which drives better dogs and dog work. Then that's why I come down to Kansas, and, but I'm going to swing through here. I'm going to go to Montana this September, and on my way back, I'm going to do it. But with prairie chicken this time, I actually was able to keep the bird, and I'm like, I got to eat this thing. I got to try it. I've been looking at this stuffed prairie chicken for 3 years.
Yeah. What's it taste like?
What's it taste like? Yeah, I did it backwards. Normally I eat them first and then stuff something. And anyways, I couldn't come to terms with doing some kind of big fancy recipe with it. I needed to breast it out. I needed to put some salt and pepper. I needed to just sear it in a pan and taste it. And so that's why I asked about the sage grouse, because when the first one I shoot is not going to make it to the taxidermist. Yeah. It's going to get eaten that night, fresh off. It's never going to see ice.
Yeah, we
because I just ever since I tasted that prairie chicken, it's not that I want to run back out to eat prairie chicken. It was just something so unique and rich and different that I'm very intrigued and want to try some of these other birds that I've never shot.
Yeah. The prairie chicken, sharp tail, same thing.
Yeah.
It really is.
I think so. I've had sharp tail before, and it was very similar. It's like an upland bird with a hint of duck.
Yeah, it is. And when I was filleting off the breast of the sage grouse, it very dark.
Looks just the same, I would assume, from what I've seen in pictures and things.
Yeah. So, I've got a bunch of never fail, absolutely every time, works perfect marinades that I do.
Yeah.
A little grill. Yeah, I'll put some bacon wrap on it. Bacon is bacon.
Bacon makes anything good.
I mean.
And it kills a lot of gamey flavor for folks, too, who are very sensitive to that, I think. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be interested to hear what it tastes like. I've never been able to have this kind of dialogue with somebody. And I've talked to people about sage, but it never dawns on me to ask that question.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, first day we went after him, we got contact.
Yeah.
I mean, within the first hour of the hunt, hour and a half ish, we're kind of playing the games. I knew kind of what I was, looking for and read and seen. I YouTubed, I read, I researched. I want to know with any animal I go after, their habits, food, water. I called biologist, of course. I also actually talked to a really nice guy that was a local up by there, live close, and he gave some tips and some pins. We went right to those. We got on them. We ended up trying another piece just around the corner from where he told us, and we did really well. That's where we ended up getting into our birds and getting them. And it was a pretty hype, moment. I was like, I got a sage grouse,
Well, and you took your son out too.
Yeah. My fiance's boy. That was his senior trip for me.
Yeah.
I said, you chip in on food, gas in the room. I'll pay for your license and get to go. And I said, you get a stud bomber. You're going to have him mounted. Yeah, that's on you. Because if I get one, I'm going to have to pay. Yeah. So, but we got hens. All three of us got hens. Had a great time. But my other friend that went with us, he's just really getting into upland.
Okay.
And so it was very exhilarating for him. It was very cool. I had my own moment of accomplishment of check one off the list.
Oh yeah. Well, you go to a new place. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's new quarry. I mean, I can tell you right now, I didn't do all the things that you talked about yesterday. Mm-hmm. And granted, yesterday kind of happened more of on a whim than anything. Mm-hmm. But I can see going out to Montana and looking for sage grouse and not putting in the homework. Yeah. And feeling a lot like I felt yesterday in the Cimarron. Just go and I knew going down there, like, the only way that we were going to even probably see a blue quail was by luck. I mean, literally, I knew that. Like, I didn't have expectations to go down there and bang a shit ton of blue quail, because it's just not realistic. And everything that I've heard and talked to people about, like, I know people who hunt down there a lot and have seen very few in their lifetime, and have never shot one. Yeah. So I kind of stamped on it, but just being in that new environment, not understanding, the dynamics of on the landscape of, okay, yeah, there's a cottonwood over there. There might be a covey of quail down there, right? Like, you can look, at least I can, looking at it through the lens of rough grouse or woodcock or things that and have hunted and had success at doing. But when you get thrown on a new quarry and a new landscape, everything's upside down. And it took me back to like the first trip I took out to North Dakota. And my first like pheasant hunting trip on my own. I had a year-old short hair. It took me a day and a half to find birds. Yeah. I just didn't know what I was doing. And when we found birds, we found birds. Yeah. And it was just, okay, and step and repeat. And it was a great trip. By all means, never going to go down in highlights for bird kills, but I had a lot of really special moments on that trip with my dog, her first rooster, me getting stuck in a cattail stew trying to retrieve it because I fell in. Well, it didn't fall in, but what looked to be dry was waist deep. Yeah. Yeah, that was fun. Never got the rooster either. I don't know where the hell. I mean, it was in there. Yeah. I couldn't move through it, and she tried, and she sunk, and yeah, it was just, it was a lost cause. Yeah. But we got back out, and before we made it back to the truck soaking wet, I banged one, and that one dropped right in the corn row, and she retrieved that one. So that was a fun time. But
if I can get up to Montana and get chucker and possibly get roughy and maybe blue, spur, dusky, something like that, I will feel very accomplished for that state. Because I've also killed waterfowl in that state too. The first time I was there, we did. Yeah, we had a combo day. Yeah. I never left one field, and I killed a limit of mallards. I killed a limit of ringnecks or roosters, and I killed a Hungarian partridge. Same morning, and within about a total of 2.5 hours.
So
my second day in Montana ever.
You're building this thing up to me like the field of dreams, man. Not that you build it, you come, but like the landscape of plentiful.
It's if you go at the right time, you have the opportunity. You miss, the way their seasons fall, you couldn't get a sage grouse unless you stayed for 3 weeks to hunt your sage grouse and then go focus on everything else. If you timed it right, go get the last week of the season, hunt for a week of just Sharpies and Huns, and maybe go find some blues, roughies, stuff like that, and then wait to the next weekend, and then you can go waterfowl and pick up roosters too. You can stack the Yeti up or Arctic, whatever you want to, you got in the back of the pickup. You can stack it up with lots of birds, and it's achievable.
Well, you told me today that there were 9 species or something like that for upland birds that you can chase. And I've said, I think this more than once, but I don't know if I've said it on the podcast, but I said to you today that, I've heard for a long time that if you want to raise bird dog, Montana's the place to go. Yeah. It's, and what kicks me, I've been to North Dakota and I've been to Wyoming. And I've never bird hunted Wyoming. We started going out to Wyoming when the oldest dog was just a pup, and we left her at home, and crap, we were going out there in Labor Day weekend. I look back now, I'm in Wyoming. I could sage grouse hunt in certain parts of that state. So it is such a unique deal. Like for me, I'm not going to go during rooster season. Granted, I can shoot roosters if I want. That's not really important, and I'm not a waterfall guy anymore. Yeah. If I had guys with me that had all the gear and it wasn't this huge task for me, I would definitely do it. Yeah. But I'm not going to stack it on top of my trip in my current state. It's just, like I said, somebody wanted to go do it. They had all the crap, and I didn't have to maintain that crap. And, I can help set up the decoys, but I don't have to do it all myself. I'd go, and as long as I don't have to stand in the water.
We got lucky enough to be laying on the bank, and the ducks just wanted in there that day.
Yeah.
That is where they were going. We were laying on the side of a bank of a pond, and there was...
I have to hand me that other book over there for a coaster, because
there was no other cover around, there was just nothing. And so we ended up leaving the dog back in the truck because there was no place to hide him. But a good buddy of mine that I had duck hunted, out here in northwest Kansas, but it had all been early teal season. That was the extent. And occasionally a pond jump when we saw, mallards sitting around or something. But when I moved back to the wet side of the state, eastern Kansas, where there's lots more water, and I started working at Bass Pro, befriended a friend of mine, Blake Ulrich, and started talking to him, and the guy I guide for at NCK, he picked up a lot of river bottom, so he's like, hey, I'm going to try and do duck hunts. Do you know a duck guide? And I go, I have just a guy. So I got him guiding through us, and next thing you know, I was like, hey, we're going to Montana. If we go at the right time, we can shoot pheasants and sharptails and Hungarian partridge. And he got hooked on, how pretty the pheasant, the rooster pheasant is. And I said, their waterfowl season is open too. He's like, oh, yeah. Brought a dozen decoys and scouted on our first day, knocked on a door, got permission. It went off like a bang. But in the first field, I killed the first pheasant. We went another 150, 200 yards. There was two gadwall getting up off the stream, small river, creek, whatever you want to say. Got a gaddy, turned around, shot a widgeon. I think it was on the third day. And I was on that second day that hit all the greenheads. And I got a pretty phenomenal picture from that. It was pretty awesome. So, but, it was just a great, it made me feel alive again after I turned 40, and I just said, I am tired of taking everybody else and putting smiles on their face, as much as I love it. Don't get me wrong. 20 years, I'm still at it. But I was like, I need to do something. Now, I'd hunted other states, but I just hadn't went after a bunch of different species,
Yeah.
I checked off woodcock, and I've killed a lesser and a greater prairie chicken. I've killed a white quail in the panhandle of Oklahoma. Of course, pheasant, quail here. Haven't got my scaly yet, but I've hunted Nebraska. I've hunted northwest Missouri. Hunted northeast Colorado. I'd hit a few states, and I was like, I got to go to Montana, and I went to Montana, and I've been back twice, and I'm gonna go again, or it's gonna be Idaho. So I was talking to one of my partners that I go with. I'm a mutual friend with Edgar Castillo.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, no. And we were chit-chatting, He's like, I wouldn't mind having a problem going back to the sandhills of Nebraska. And I'm like, no, I wouldn't either. I don't have a problem going after, try and complete the upland slam here. Which, you chicken, sharpie, pheasant, quail, you get that, and they put you in on a list, and I think you get in on like a shotgun or something like that. Which I got 2 of the 4, and he got 3 of the 4. And the other guy was with us. I think he got 3 of the 4 or 2 of the 4. So, I'm up for going. I want to conquer Nebraska, check that off, get all 4.
Yeah, that one's on my list too. I drove through there on the way out to elk camp last year through the sandhills, and just, again, I'm the guy that likes to take the road less traveled. If I got 2 choices of I-70 and I-80 or I-90, whatever, I'm going to look at what my options are and I'm going to see, well, if I take this way, how long would it be to swing through, you know? And I love to see the countryside. I don't have a problem driving.
Well, I went to Montana for sage grouse. Everybody goes to Wyoming.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Montana because I did research.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Well,
I want to go to Wyoming and kill sage grouse there too, but
no, I'm with you. When I did the research, Montana was where I wanted to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I still wanted to go to Wyoming. I like Wyoming. Wyoming's a cool state. And the way I was going to do it was possibly going to still put Wyoming into play, but I still was going to start in.
The other one I've thought about doing is Idaho too, which everybody knows Idaho. I think everybody knows Idaho more than Montana, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But it just kind of, I mean, because you got the same things in Idaho as you have in Montana.
You also got,
except the valley quail.
Yes,
old purple quail.
Yeah, that's the podcast sponsor, Jason, with Uplnd Outfitters. He's out in California, and they've got mountain quail and valley quail out there. And that sounds like a hell of a hunt. I mean, it sounds like, you know, you're going to work your ass off.
Yeah.
And you're going to lose some pounds.
Yeah.
Like they don't. The blue quail don't play nice, but these quail don't live in a nice. I mean, they live in a beautiful, but not stuff you want to. Yeah, it's tough country.
Tough country. You know, one of my buddies, Jake Thomas, he just went down and he shot the Arizona trifecta.
Yeah,
he got a gamble, a scaly, and a Mearns, and then Edgar and Kyle.
Yeah. They're heading down soon.
And JB, yeah, they're heading down. They leave Sunday, next Sunday, and heading down to Arizona. They're actually road tripping. They're driving.
That's what he said. Yeah, I talked to him.
Yeah, and
might get together this week. We'll see.
Yeah,
he's tough to pin down this time of year.
Yeah. If he can squeeze it in, he'll do it.
Oh, I know. We talked. He called me tonight. We were eating dinner, so I told him I'd call him tomorrow.
Yeah,
but. Yeah, it's that's another one I want to put on the list too, and that one's been I've been him and hawing about that one. Again, both of these things. This is why I want to look at somehow fitting these things into my schedule every year, or somehow making something work. Arizona, it's a season extender. Montana, season extender. Mm-hmm. Being a guide, dog time is important. Mm-hmm. And anytime that you can get to extend your season, that's why I'm here. Yeah, I mean, I'm in Kansas right now to extend my season. Yeah,
I used to have to travel east from Colby to get into early chicken season, because it was just closed, on east or west of 183.
Sure.
So I had to come basically west or east of Stockton, and so I would go up around a couple of haunts I had, Mitchell and Jewell County up there, and I had places that worked the dog really, really good for usually about 2 days. I would try and work half a day, get a late afternoon, evening hunt, 3 hours in, or 3 hour drive, hit them or at least put them to bed, get a roost spot on them and then know where they were going to head.
Yeah.
And that was September, and a couple of weeks later I'm guiding, bonkers.
Mm-hmm. But those season openers, that's your time that you get to hone in your dogs. It's your time you get to take in a few of those memories and log some of the things that you need to log personally before the work starts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was very spoiled in Colby. I lived on the very east side of town, and the other side of the alley was a huge CRP field. I went for a mile. So to train dogs, I'd wait till the started seeing, I'd be out reading my meters on my rural routes, and you see the little chicks flying across the ditch. You're like, okay, time to go. And so I'd get the dogs out, and we'd start, every evening. When it start cooling off about 7 o'clock, still had light, we go out back. And I took a starter pistol, and they'd get them woed up and just locked and steady, and and buddies would bring their dogs over, hey, run them through, tune them up, and then at one time I had like 8, 9, 10, 12 dogs. I was for guys in Colby. And I had a couple friends that were back in Kansas City I'd meet them in Salina, pick up their dog, and I'd run them for 2-3 weeks because they would get contact.
Yep.
And I mean, a lot of contact.
And that's kind of, I don't know if I'm going to get there this next year. As you know, I'm kind of in transition with the next phase of life and having the facilities to do what I want to do. The ground's broke, the concrete's laid, the shed's built, but I got to live there, and I still convincing the wife to move. But my goal, like on these big trips, is, hey, I'll take your dog. I'll work your dog on wild birds.
Yeah, put
them on contacts. I can't guarantee him anything, but you don't have the time to do it. I do. Utilize that
great time about getting out in September with that early chicken season when you're hitting even north central Kansas, where I hunted a lot, and a little bit of central, and then I guess you'd say east central Kansas in the Flints.
Yeah.
Getting out there, you're still getting into quail. You're getting a very, very
young
quail, and you're not shooting anything, but that dog's getting contact. And so on top of your chicken, and then you're getting the early quail contact. So the Flints, you get in those little cuts and draws, and there's, a hedge apple tree and a little rock wall, and there's a covey of 10. It's great.
The hell are them things?
Hedge apple?
Yeah.
Or an Osage orange, as they are called.
It looks like a green brain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I honestly,
squirrels are like the only thing I know that eat them.
I was going to, what eats them? Because I was up in that area that you're talking about. I think it was in Jewell County. Mm-hmm. And we were just cruising down the road, and I've seen them before in small patches.
Yeah.
Now, here's a tree there, a bunch of, maybe a clump of them on the road, and, an eighth of a mile, and all the little apples all over. Yeah. This was a mile long, I swear, of
tree row. Yeah.
Old tree row. And they, like, driving down there, it felt like you were going to stone, like, big old boulders in the road. I mean, those things don't.
Look at the different pieces of the prairie that we drove by today that were burned up.
Oh, yeah.
And the hedge apples are still there. The tree's gone.
I know.
It's moldered to nothing, but the hedge apples are still there.
Yep. Well, they're green,
Yeah. No, they were charred.
Well, but they're green when the fire started.
But they're just still there. And I'm like, how are they the only thing left?
I'm curious what their history of botany is with the relation to fire. Because they're only a prairie species that I know of. I've never seen them anywhere else.
I've seen them in parts of northern Oklahoma.
Sure, but
I've seen
prairie state.
Up to like middle of the southern half of Nebraska.
Sure.
As far as Iowa, I've never paid attention if they're in Iowa.
I haven't either.
I've seen them a little bit in northwest Missouri.
Yeah,
but not tons like you see here.
And maybe I've seen a random one up north by me, not necessarily in Wisconsin, but out on the prairie in Minnesota. I've seen, I don't want to say wild plums, but I've seen other things similar to that, but not like those crazy things. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I've been coming down here for a long while, and that was the first time I ever really remember picking one up and actually really diving into it. And I cut it open, and I'm like, this thing is weird.
Yeah. When they're really when they're green and just falling off, you drive over with a pickup, they don't budge.
No,
they kind of maybe mash a little bit, but they don't like split and bust open like you think. We used to chuck them at each other. I mean, play softball with them when I was. We were mean to each other. We're out there opening weekend of pheasant season. Me and my cousins, they're sitting there chucking them at me, and so then they'd go off and doing the teenage boy thing, and here I was a couple of years younger, and I just walk up, just wallop them with them, and they're like, "You little rat," you know. And then I'd get it later in the freaking camper. They'd put me in headlocks and stuff, but you know, it was. I value all that time now, but getting hit with a hedge apple kind of sucks.
They're hard. I remember I was driving. I was in my car actually because I was absent of a truck at the time. This was predates my trip down where I had to leave my truck down here. So this was my November trip down here. That I was kind of blown away that. In the car. I'm gonna break it. I'm gonna lose a tire on these things.
Blow a ball joint. Yeah,
pretty much. Anyway, so we kind of got down a few rabbit holes here, but Montana. One of the questions I wanted to ask you related to that was you've been there, what, 3 times now?
2 times.
2 times. And did you get hunts both times?
Yes.
So how being, you know, Bob White guy raised in Kansas, how was a flush on a covey of Huns?
Oh, they're like crack.
I've seen them off in the distance in North Dakota, but I've never been able to have a shootable approach on one.
I don't know what it is about them and maybe it's because I'm a Kansas kid, and I grew up shooting pheasant and quail in the same field, you know, in central Kansas. So then you go up there and here's this little covey bird, you know. I mean, no different than, you know, I mean, sage grouse or Sharpies are the same way. They're pretty much a covey bird out there.
Yeah, but they're not.
But you get 2s and 3s of them, or you'll get 10, 20. I mean, we actually saw a flock of 75 Sharpie up there this year.
It's crazy.
But Huns, you know, it's on the typical 10 to 35, 40 up there.
Yeah.
We saw, you know, what we put up, you know, we put about, on the days we focused on sharptail and Huns, we were doing 3 to 5 coveys a day.
Yeah.
Of good sized coveys. And I only say that being, somebody might say, well, that's not a lot. We got them up, we watched them go down, and then we got up on, you know, one more time.
Sure.
So, I think we averaged, of the 2 days, we averaged.
So we were talking about before we hit the record button, and some guys might count that as 6 or 7 coveys.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, I've watched guys. Oh yeah, we put up 14 coveys. No, you got up a covey of quail twice, 7 times. So therefore that would be no. It's 7 coveys. You know, yeah. True contact. Yeah, you had twice contact on the same covey.
Well, and 2 people, you know, when you talk about that, we this morning we went to a piece of property in Weehaw, and we don't get, I don't know, but we let dogs out, and dogs didn't get very far down there. They started to get birdie.
Yeah, we 200 yards in, maybe.
Well, they were even birdie long before that, and we missed a corner there that I think, you know, we may have had some. We were walking the wrong direction to watch birds peel out across the street to the nice private stuff that had a lot more cover. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have been surprised if we had running birds that peeled out the side of us there on that walk. But regardless, we got in there and we moved that covey. They got up pretty wild.
Yeah.
And granted, I think they were in between roost and feed.
Yeah,
I think we caught them off guard a little.
Just before Retta hit that point, and Callie started, she was just breaking because I think that wind just swirled right there in that little thicket.
We didn't have a good wind either going in there like that.
We had it on our back.
Yeah.
But Retta I seen her just start to pull up and lock, and they just bit straight west.
Yeah.
And you happen to be able, my vantage point didn't put me at a good spot, but you were able to see, you know, where they landed.
Yep.
But yeah, I think we had probably moved them for, I would bet, probably 60 yards.
Yeah, and like I said,
where the dogs picked up a first birdie scent, because I had to holler at Tika to come up because she was wanting to mill around there, and I think they just, you know, ran up. There was that little, there's a road, and I think that's what stopped them from going across.
What's funny is I'd hunted that piece of property earlier this year once, and my dogs did the same thing in there. We had made contact with the covey a little earlier, but the little one, she kept working towards it, kept working. I don't know why, but that field edge, those birds loaf in there quite a bit, and in between that feed and I'd be hard pressed to say that those birds had made it to feed yet that morning. But I guess the point is we'd moved that covey twice, and then picked up a couple singles. We got one bird for the lack of poor flushes. Well, you kept being in the middle of my sight picture every time.
I'm a large gentleman,
bad approach with the wind. It was just, I knew right away walking up, I'm like praying that one just decides it's going to fight the wind and be different and go out the backside by me. But there wasn't much we could really do. I don't think you could have approached it any differently and had much of a different result.
You go into the middle of the field and circle, go all the way to the other north end or south end and turn and go back towards the road. You blow them across the road.
Yeah.
They're going to blow across the road.
Yeah.
They're going to go down to that, into the quaggies,
Well, and that's where, I don't know. As a guide, I've become less of I don't have to shoot. I told you walking back, you told me we needed to shoot quail this morning. So I'm like, all right, let's go to this spot. I know where there's some coveys. And I walked out, didn't fire my gun. And I had just as big a smile as you do because we accomplished mission number one today. We're starting off on a good foot.
35 years straight. We're good. We are good. I was like, all right, I can check that off.
Well, I told you what town we were going to. I'm like, yeah, do you got your Onyx up? And you kind of, I got it up. And I'm like, no pins. I'm like, okay, now the pressure's on.
So many times over the years where, I've traveled across the state of Kansas or, got out away from living in Colby and going east, away to get into quail when I was living there or coming west. I just go and my buddies are marking the spots and I'm not, but from years of driving around in rural counties and I'm like, oh yeah, there's that silo. Yeah. We're just another 2 miles up the road and people are like, how do you, I don't know, savant retard over here. I don't know. Rain Man. I just recognize places.
This year was the first time coming down here in 6 straight years that I literally had deja vu. I've been here. I'm looking at my Onyx. I've got no pins here. I look at Google Earth. I have no old school drop pins before. I mean, like, I have been to this damn piece of property and I have hunted it. And it was clear in a county I don't think I've ever been to. So I don't know how because at some point, just about everything starts to look the same.
Yeah, it does.
you know what I mean?
Little corners, and
some of it just looks identical to stuff. And I've had that feeling here. And I will tell you, I did not hunt that piece of property before. Yeah. I swore the whole entire time I was there, I had been there before.
Where we hunted this afternoon, there's South Palco.
Yeah.
I've hunted South Palco for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And now some of those pieces aren't in Weehaw anymore. They get taken out or whatever. But a good buddy of mine that owns, shameless plug, Han Tire in Stockton. So if you have a blowout while you're hunting or need something fixed, go see Travis and Tyler. I hunted with him a bunch. Like I holler up and he goes, "Hey, you want to get some quail?" Go over, get some quail and get a chicken, pheasant, and come back after a half day hunting. And so I've hunted a lot of south of Stockton and Bogue, all this area down in here with him. And I'm like, there's a couple of spots where we're on the way to that one spot. You're like, then I'm going to hit that, on my way back, or whatever. Yeah. I was going, I've been over here before. Whether it was we were chasing chickens with him or, I've been over here before,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that place we hunted today, another plug, my buddy Tyler down here, I don't know if the listeners really know, but last time we got the podcast, not you, but my good friend when we were down here, and I got a bottle of whiskey out, which she got this stuff out. I listened to it at least a little bit of it, and I realized that it's probably not the best thing to put on the air. I was a little way too cheap of a date that night. Don't drink whiskey after pheasant hunting all day or quail hunting all day before you eat dinner.
Tired muscles and whiskey just, yeah.
But the pizza showed up, but we were in the middle of the podcast, and I had already started on the whiskey. So it was just, eat the pizza first before the whiskey next time. But no, Tyler, when my truck broke down in December, followed me on Instagram and kind of recognized a few things from what I had going on and helped me out big time. He had an old Jeep Cherokee 2-door Sport, and I didn't have a truck and didn't know when I was going to get it back. And he had a day off, so he picked me and my buddy Ben up and took us out hunting, and we shot a bunch of quail and hit some private land. And
super great guy.
Oh yeah, and today, we got to hunt some controlled shooting ground that we didn't put any birds out, but his buddy is selling the operation and wanted to Tyler texted me a little bit ago, and he was just kind of realizing that was probably one of the last times he was going to hunt out there at least. And
we were mainly going after quail, So.
Well, yeah, that's always from when you're hunting with me down here, that's the core. Yeah. Pheasants are always a secondary, unless it's just too good. A pheasant ground, and I don't want to drive any further, and we've seen a bunch of roosters go, then we're going after them. But if there's a chance for quail or pheasant, and it's kind of one hand or the other, I'm going to choose quail.
Yeah. But where we were at on the controlled shooting, out in this country for controlled shooting, it doesn't matter if you're supplementing quail. There's going to be quail there anyways. So.
Yeah, and I don't think they would. Who knows? But
there wasn't any. That wasn't no.
There was no way that was a pen raised quail.
No,
that was
You don't do what they did.
No,
because they played with us.
Yeah.
Yep. You seen that on the last bird I took. He was smart.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He'd been through the.
Yeah, he'd been through the ringer. He'd been chased a few times.
Yeah. It was really interesting to kind of play them in there because that pasture on the back, they just didn't want to go to it, so they kind of forced them to
cover. Yeah,
it's forced them to split.
Yep.
And Tyler's over there, and you and I are over here, and all of a sudden, bang, bang, bang over there, and you're bang, bang, bang over here, and I'm chasing a birdie dog, but I'm quail by me. You guys had chased them down.
What was crazy is I watched probably a fourth of that covey because that was a large covey. I watched I marked right where they went. It was between two clumps. There was that big cottonwood and the cedar tree, big clump, and then up just a little bit, the deadfall. And then there was an open space, and they landed between that and two more little cedars and another small tree. They were running back to that big, heavy cover.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what you said.
I watched right to there, and what we do, we pumped those two singles up and went after them, got the one, and they went right back to that heavy stuff right where Tyler was.
Yep.
And so then because of us going right back down to him, then we're ping-ponging them.
Yep.
So
it was really interesting. I have not, only one other time I think actually kind of had enough guys spread out where that kind of played out like that.
Yeah, it worked well.
Yeah, it was kind of neat. But big thanks to Tyler and Lee for letting us come out and kind of experience some stuff there. Beautiful piece of property, and
the grass was just phenomenal.
They did a very nice job there.
I knew Lee's name for years. I was out in this country for 20 years, and he's raised bird dogs. I've raised bird dogs, so I'd come across his name. Of course, I've hunted around in this area. So
and you're a short hair guy, and you got short hairs.
You got short hairs. You got short hairs. So it is what it is. You kind of tend to know somebody if they're in an area particular.
Yeah, and I found that Kansas is like a small town. Everybody kind of knows everybody. Yeah. You get out here, and even it's like 3 towns. Oh yeah, I know him. Yeah,
I probably I know somebody in probably about every town. I mean, in any good sized town, or they used to live there, and they still have family there. Whether it's from hunting, or I sold a dog, or I trained a dog, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's just come across that.
Well, I mean, you go out there and there's 100, 200 people in some of these small towns, and so it's pretty easy to get to know everybody. And a lot of these guys, they hunt, so and when you start talking about landowners, and then it starts to get to be a pretty small pool of people, a sizable tract of landowners.
I read meters for 9 counties in Northwest Kansas for 12 years, 3,600 meters a month. Okay, or actually more than that. I drove 3,600 miles a month, and I knew everybody ever. Pull up in a farmer's front yard, or you're in his pasture, you're checking, I was reading his gas, I was reading his electric, I was reading his irrigation. You just get to know them, and they wave, they see you. You go to Walmart, or you're in Hayes. Oh, hey, how are you? What are you, how's things going? Blah, 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 blah. I just need to run to Walmart and grab something, or Dillon's and grab something, and it's 45 minutes later because you get caught in the parking lot. And they're wanting to, you've either sold them a dog, trained a dog for them, taken them hunting at the hunting lodge in Winona, Smoky River, or I sold seed to them, or I just knew them. They knew my ex-wife and my in-laws. 6,000 people. I knew a good portion of them in Colby, just flat out. And then of course Oakley and
and down here, this is for the listeners who aren't in Kansas, or gosh, I got a frog in my throat tonight.
Drowning with whiskey. Yeah,
well, I'm trying to kill it with whiskey. It just doesn't want to disappear. But I come from Minnesota, where there's Minnesota nice. And, anybody from the country, they think of Minnesota nice. Well, growing up in the Midwest, not in Minnesota, but kind of transplanting to Minnesota's a nice place, and there's nice people there. But the people here in Kansas are just way nicer. Like, today we show up. We didn't. It was a hunting day. We went hunting this morning. Tyler calls us, all right, meet us over here at, whenever, I'll be there. We show up, come in the house, and take a seat. Yeah. And you and I were both like, no, I'll stand. I've been sitting over a little while. We just drove over from, town over. And I didn't realize that
we was going to have lunch.
We were going to have lunch.
Dessert, and ice cream.
Ice cream and brownies.
And chew the cheek for 2 hours. I was, and she's just like making chili. And I'm like, oh, they're just.
I'm figuring it for dinner,
Yeah. Oh, no,
and then hot dogs go on.
And then she's got 5 bowls on the table. And I'm just like, oh, we're invited for lunch.
Yeah.
And then I had to remember, after being back, I'm like, oh, yeah. I'm in Northwest Kansas. I mean, 12 years I read meters, and I pulled out probably 10, 15 farmers' wives that they're on their way to town, or they're on their way to work. And I just go over there, latch onto the bumper, and they're like, oh, my husband. I'm like, I'll get you out before you can get here. Call him and tell him to stop. Pull him back up onto the road. They're like, oh, sweetie, thank you. And here comes the farmer, like, oh, appreciate that. What do I owe you? Let me hunt that piece of ground.
Yeah.
That's how I know lots of people. They're like, oh, you want to hunt? Well,
Todd made sure he had toe straps and a chain in his truck. We go make sure he got her out of the damn ditch.
Straps, chain, wrenches, hammer, whatever you do. Always have number 9 bale in water. So, you might have to fix a bumper. And you never know. So,
what's going on over there, Luna? You farting? Still farting?
She's floating some air biscuits over here. It was a little ripe earlier.
I haven't gotten.
It can't be me. I've already showered.
Yeah, you showered. She was being goofball there. very thankful that you brought your dogs because I got to rest them tonight or this morning, and I got an awesome run out of them tonight. I just felt like they came out of the box and they had rest in them, and they looked a little bit more like the fresh dogs that I normally get to see. That Cimarron, man, I think the dogs walked maybe 3 more miles a piece. They literally were walking around for last night, even this morning yet. They're looking like they've been running for 5 days already. And that we literally have had one evening run on would have been Wednesday night. Thursday, I kind of poked around and scouted some new area. It was really windy and cold, and so I didn't really push them that hard. And then Friday went down the Cimarron, and I'm going, I think if I look in the logbook, I think you girls have less than 25 miles on your hoods. Like, what's going on here? Yeah, we do that in a day sometimes.
So, well, that's what it was like in Montana. Going after sage grouse, rocky, short grass, a lot of cactus.
Yeah,
that's where the sage grouse were.
And you're worrying me already after what I experienced. So, what did you? I mean, did you condition your dogs?
I had them very well conditioned. But
I mean, running them on gravel, that kind of stuff. Like
they live on a concrete pad.
Okay. And you don't have the same thing.
I've got an asphalt driveway that then breaks into gravel.
Okay.
So I walk them up. That's almost 2/3 of a mile, and then up and down the gravel. And I'm, throwing the bumpers and stuff.
Yeah.
And of course, they're digging in and trying to keep that pad good, getting tight. But like I said, we got up there on Friday night in Montana. And then Saturday, it was sage grouse. And Sunday, it was sage grouse. And Monday, and in between there, we picked up a few, Huns and Sharpies that just, were on the edges or whatever. And I was like, Monday, let's hunt for some Sharpies and Huns, give the dogs a break on their pads. Tuesday, we went after sage grouse. But this time, we opted to leave the dogs in the box and let them rest. And so we just rested them all morning, like 2/3 of the day. And we went to a place called Bomber Flats. And the pond or the reservoir that was there was Bomber Reservoir. So we're thinking, found phenomenal. I mean, it was thigh-high sage grouse or sage
grouse, yeah,
and found all kinds of sign. Never saw a sage grouse. We got up Huns, but never saw any sage grouse.
Do you think that was because you didn't have a dog?
I kind of want to chalk it up to that.
Okay.
Just because you don't have something running in between you and 2 other guys breaking up, that almost got ran over by an antelope. That was slightly funny. I mean, they came within like 40 yards of me before they finally started. I was out way on the far north end, and I'm sitting there watching them, and they keep coming in and keep coming in. Probably didn't help. I was taking off my hat, flagging. I was crow calling, which if you've ever antelope hunted, you can crow call them. They actually sound like a crow.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've never had much interest in the speed goats.
Delicious.
So, but I've heard the exact opposite.
I've had them from Wyoming, and I've shot them in Kansas, and I've had other guys shoot them in Kansas and don't want them, and I'm like, oh, I'll take them.
Is there anything special with processing the antelope meat? Is it time to, ice it down? I mean, from time to kill to time to when you cool the meat? Like, is that produce a different quality meat? Like, why do guys say it sucks?
Oh, they say it tastes sagey. I have told.
Well, I love sage as a spice. I mean, it's one of my favorites. But
I have shot mule deer in sage bottom flats, in Kansas. Not that we have tons, but areas where it is, it's sage and prairie grass mix. There's a little bit of sage, not tons, but
dogwood kind of shit too.
Yeah, absolutely. But like I told you earlier, I get the meat off a bone. It doesn't,
Yeah, you did tell me that.
It's in
right?
a bag and it's in a cooler. It's not sitting there on the bone. It's not cooling off.
Well, and I told you specifically, temperature is very specific on aging whitetail for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've only had the opportunity where the temperature for me is optimum and ideal to do it once.
Mm-hmm.
And I you can't have it freeze. It can't be frozen, but it's got to be damn close to ready to freeze. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the temp, and to be able to control that,
it's got to be pliable.
Yes,
but yet stiff. It's got to be that in between.
Yes,
soft. Yeah, I know.
You know what you say. It's hard to explain, and for me, if I the only place I can actually get a consistent temperature to stay like that right now is on my attached garage at my house. Mm-hmm. Eventually, I'll be able to do it up north once we get that thing heated. But I've had too many deer seasons as of late that temperature either starts way up high and drops too low, or is too low and then comes up. Is just not right. And so I am a firm believer of getting that deer cooled down as quick as absolutely possible.
Preparation on all your wild game, from the minute it hits your pouch from the dog or the minute it hits the dirt, it's preparation.
Mm-hmm.
I know lots of guys, like we talked about, you age them.
Yep.
I don't.
Yep.
I've had it aged. I can't.
Did you clean them birds tonight?
No, they're there.
No, so you're aging them.
Yeah. Yeah. I put them belly up, so the guts are laying on the back. I'm not eating the back,
yep.
And I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
And like I say, the marinades and stuff that I use, never.
I got them. I get the guts out, and then depending on the weather, like tonight's going to be warm. Tonight's warm for me. Yeah. I mean, I think it's. I don't think. Well,
we're below 40s.
Yeah, we're not to freezing though tonight.
No, I think it's just supposed to be 30 something.
Yeah.
It's not going to freeze anything hard. There's not going to be ice in that bucket for the dogs out there.
No, and so it's cool enough to keep them overnight, but tomorrow, I think I looked at the next 2 days here. It's going to be 57, 53.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
those birds are going to have to go on ice, and that's when the feathers. But again, I got guts out, so now I'll take the feathers off, and I think it's about, for what I've at least discussed with people, and what I think, when you leave the skin on, it comes out of rigor. There's enzymes that the body starts to kind of release naturally to break down the body. Mm-hmm. And it's those enzymes that help tenderize the meat. Now, on a quail and a pheasant, you don't necessarily need the meat tenderized, mm-hmm. but it just, for me, it adds a little additional flavor. And it's not a gamey flavor, but people who don't eat wild game might think it's more of a gamey flavor.
So here a few weeks, probably about a month back,
hello, Luna.
I grilled up a bunch of some of the sharptail from Montana, and I knew I had dated the bag, so I knew when those birds came in. And
lay down. What
do you want?
What do you want? I'm tired. I'm just gonna be well, come here then. What are you huffing and puffing at?
God, you gotta love his short hair.
I know.
Just attitude. It don't matter. And they're just like,
I know. And now she's gonna
look at that face.
Yeah, she's
if you could read into those eyes, she just told you, she said things about you that you don't even want to know.
That dog right there has learned how to bat her eyelashes.
Mm-hmm.
And she has absolutely, we call her Miss Cutes, because she learned how to do that cute face.
Mm-hmm.
And she's you know, she's got smaller short hair, and she just has that inherent puppy face still, and she acts like a puppy. She's freaking 3, and she just acts like she's attitude of puppy, everything, happy-go-lucky, you know. And but man, you bust out that food on the counter, that bacon.
Different dog.
She sits there, drools, and she just does this. Please, I look cute. I'm hungry.
Daddy.
Like literally like your daughter batting her eyes, wanting that little piece of candy, and knows she can't have it, but she can damn look cute and get it from dad.
Yeah.
She learned that like when she was 6 months. By 6 months old, she was doing it. I can't believe she still does it. Yeah. I used to when she, before we completely broke them up, or her specifically, of sitting next to you while you're eating at the dinner table. Mm-hmm. She would sit there next to me at the dinner table and drop her nose and look up, you know, just out of the tops of her eyes and bat them. Feed me. I'm cute. Feed me. And she knew how to work it. She's getting a little better at it. And then you got the other one over there says, oh, yeah, you're talking all that smack about my sister, and I'm the queen. Right, Rebs? Yeah.
No, I ate or cooked up some of the.
Oh, sorry, man. No. We're the listeners can't see these dogs here that look cute and are staring us down, but
so I cooked up some of the first sharp tail we shot on the first couple of days, and they sat on the side of the dog box.
Yeah.
And didn't do anything with them. Now, it wasn't that bad, but then I'm like, hey, that morning, I'm like, we better put these in a bag and put them on, on ice.
Yeah.
We threw them in there. And there was a different texture.
Okay.
But it had a stronger flavor. A lot stronger, gamier flavor.
After they were on ice?
After they were on ice.
Yeah.
The ones that I took, there was like 3 of them. 2 of the breasts I wrapped bacon on, and it tasted better. But the bird that didn't have anything done to it, it was just marinated and then grilled, didn't care for it. It was one of those, it was like, and I was like, Callie, come here. And I gave it to her. I took a bite of it, and I was like, I don't like that. Then I ate the ones that were wrapped. But and like I said, it had a lot better. It had it didn't taste as rich. Mm-hmm. Kind of, it's a red or darker meat.
Yeah, sharp tail.
They're flyers. They're short burst.
Yep.
Flowers.
I've had it twice, 2 different ways, but I've talked to a lot of people that hunt them regularly, and there seems to be an either love them or hate them, kind of like prairie chicken,
kind of like sage grouse.
Yeah,
I've had a lot of guys go, "Ooh, yeah, sage hen." They don't like. Nah, I just shoot them. And I put them. I clean them, put them in the freezer, and I'll put bacon on them, or I do this.
Yeah,
they don't really. They just grill them. They don't do a special dish with them. And I've kind of wanted to do, like I said, I kind of want to do that with them, but I just get to the point where it's like I just want to taste them.
Well, and now you've hit the freezer. Mm-hmm. I'm a firm believer of it, once game hits the freezer, your texture profile, the flavor, everything changes.
I've had tons of elk over the years.
Mm-hmm.
I was 3 hours from the mountains, and a lot of my buddies would go out and my ex brother-in-law they go out and go elk hunting. My ex's uncle, they always elk camp every year. And so I've had elk, freezer, been in the freezer, it's been processed. But I had a client up at NCK, he came in and he was on his way back. I think he was from like St. Louis.
Sure.
He came back, and he had his elk with him. And I was like, oh, you got some elk? He's like, yeah. He's like, you want some? He goes, because it's going to be like me and my son's away at college, and it's not going to get ate. And I'm like, sure, yeah.
Free elk, yeah.
Pass it on, brother. So I actually didn't freeze it. I just put it on ice in my cooler, got home, and I got home on that Sunday afternoon. I put it on marinade in about 6 o'clock. My dad, I love my dad to help him out with his place and stuff like that. So he goes, it's Sundays, fend for yourself. And I'm like, it's elk steak for me. He's like, oh, you got some help? Yeah. So he has some help.
Fend for yourself.
But it was fresh. It hadn't been frozen, anything. And he's like, that's pretty good. I'm like, oh, yeah.
So you shared.
Mm-hmm.
I would have.
Fat kid always shares. Fat kid always shares.
But my dad said that to me, man. At least my old man, I had elk steak, and I'd smile all the way to the frying pan and say, fend for yourself. I love my dad, but yeah, I've taken a lot of shit over the years, and I just don't take too much of it anymore.
My dad's, I think he went hunting like twice.
Oh, he's not on her.
With my mom's, some of my mom's, family, but he's just not a hunter.
How'd you get into hunting then?
So
just buddies and stuff?
No, actually, my dad's little sister, my Aunt Mary, she married a guy he's ex-Air Force, and he was into guns. He's just one of those gun guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I would hate to fathom how many guns he has. I mean, seriously, like ridiculous amounts.
Yeah. Wondering where the button is to remove the false wall to store all of them.
And I don't remember if they were watching me or I just wanted to go with them, but they took me to the gun range, which now is Powder Creek, shameless plug, there in Kansas City, out in Lenexa.
Sorry, I'm yawning and burping at the same time, and trying to choke down a little whiskey.
But he put a 357 in my hand.
Yeah.
And
how old?
I was 7.
Oh, geez.
He's like, here. He goes,
yeah,
shot
here.
That. I cracked one. I'm like, yeah, this is cool. Of course, I'd seen Dirty Harry and all that. And he's like, well, go ahead. And so I boom, 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 dumped the whole cylinder. I'm like, yeah. Well, then he hands me like a 1911. And then he hands me a 38. And I'm shooting all this stuff. I'm like, yeah. So a couple weeks later, we ended up going out there to Powder Creek, and they give me my aunt's 20 gauge youth women's pump, 870. And they got me shooting clays. And I was breaking them,
Yeah.
And my aunt's like, my uncle, you should get your hunter safety. So they helped me go through hunter safety.
No shit.
So I got it when I was 8 years old. So when I was 9, or that following fall, my Uncle Ken, and my dad, they took me out, and we went, it was opening weekend. We went up to Valley Falls, Perry Lake area, and went hunting. I got to carry a 22, saw nothing.
Hey, got to carry a gun.
Last field, there's a freaking squirrel standing there. My uncle's like, shoot him. Pull up, bang, killed my first thing. So the next year, I turned around and I was 10, and my mom's side of the family, my uncle and cousins and all of my grandma and grandpa's friends that all their kids, all the kids grew up together and stuff. They went out opening weekend, Glen Elder, Central Kansas. And I said, of course, talking to my cousin Kevin, I'm like, I want to go with you guys. I want to go hunting. And I didn't have a gun, but my uncle Danny, he took me fishing. He would my aunt Sherry would pick me up from kindergarten. I'd go hang out with her. My Uncle Danny get off the night shift, and then he'd say, "Come on." He's a big fisherman. He's Bassmaster. He's fished tournaments and stuff. And he'd take me out to Wyandotte County Lake. I caught my first bass with him. Like my dad and my uncle, his older brother, I caught my first catfish, but I caught my first bass. So that kind of got me hooked on fishing. And so my Uncle Danny would take me after kindergarten. I got out of school, he'd take me fishing. I thought he was like the greatest guy ever. You know, next to my dad, he was like.
So were you like, when can we go hunt? When can we go hunt? Were you like, I mean, a young boy, I mean, you know, so it's funny that this story came out because I was sitting in the truck earlier. We were waiting for Tyler, and I got this book from his buddy Scott, who probably his Scott's podcast will air before this one. But it's kind of a, you know, Christ kind of book, and it's hunting stories and kind of nature and bringing it back to, and the first story in here is about Jackson, a little boy who, you know, is this little kid and goes over to the neighbor guy and is shooting his bow and kind of starts asking the 10,000 questions, and then the neighbor guy invites him hunting.
Yeah.
And for a solid week, he drove his parents crazy and the neighbor guy. Yeah. When are we going on? Oh, Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
All right, little boy. Yeah. I mean, when you're not, I mean, I had my dad, you know, and we hunted, we had a family farm. I mean, that's how I got introduced to hunting. So I know I was like that to a certain degree to my dad, but we were always going there. So when you don't have that vehicle of always going there, and it's relying on somebody outside of your family unit to kind of take you there, I could see exactly how there's no patience. Yeah. I want to go. I don't have the opportunity, and you guys are going. Like, thank you for bringing me a little bit. Like, I'm invited. Like, let's go. Can we leave now?
my Aunt Mary and my Uncle Ken. That's after what I've done in my life of hunting. That, like, they mean so much to me. And then my Uncle Danny and my cousin Kevin and Eric for taking me, and they took me more into the outdoors. My Uncle Ken and Aunt Mary, they got me into the guns, and they got that ball rolling. They got my hunter safety, you know, it's all there.
Kicked you in the ass and sent you down a path.
Yeah, sent me down, you know, I couldn't have a drug problem. I can't. I have bird dogs and guns and ammo. That's my problem.
Yeah,
that's my addiction.
I can relate.
Yeah, and
it's too expensive to have any other addiction.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I fly fish too, so you throw that in there, and it's like, oh, I picked two very expensive sports, and
I've told myself I will not fly fish.
Yeah.
No. But so when I was 11,
well, you know, you can come up and fly fish. I'm all geared up. Yeah. So I mean, if you want to,
I would actually take you up on that.
You just put it
to learn.
Well, but just put it in the mindset you're on your way up there. I'm not coming back with a new hobby, but we're going to go have fun for the weekend.
This is our stuff, and I'm going to keep it at your house. You know, that year I just went once. When I was 11, I went opening weekend, and I went over Christmas break with my Uncle Danny and my cousins. And the following year, I was 12.
It was mostly deer hunting or bird hunting?
It was mostly bird hunting.
Okay.
Then when I was 12, it was opening weekend, it was Christmas, and it was New Year's. And sometimes, occasionally, it was the last weekend of season.
Sure.
So I was getting out on average about 3-4 times. Well, then I got into high school, and that's where some of my other buddies hunted.
Sure, yeah.
So it was, hey, we're going hunting, and be like, hey, Dad, I ain't got to work, I'm going hunting. And he's like, oh, okay. I had been around guns for so long, for me to go grab the key. I mean, the gun cabinet was kept in my bedroom because I had guns. My dad at that time, I think my dad had a pistol, and he still got a shotgun. And so I just go grab a shotgun and I had my vest, and I knew where everything was at, put it in the bag, and I went hunting with, my friends and their dads or whatever. And of course, I got to driving. And so, Mom, Dad, don't listen to this. Maybe I skipped school, and we would run down to south of Abilene and go shoot some birds with my buddies. And then we come back, and everybody's getting out of school, and we're sitting in the parking lot drinking soda pop with dead birds in the trunk of my car or their car, and their short hair in the pickup, and it was that's how it all got started, and it just got worse. Well, I went down to college. I still hunted. I was in college down at Fort Scott. I've shot a prairie chicken down south of Fort Scott, and quail.
But where's Fort Scott for listeners?
Straight south of Kansas City, 94 miles, right on 69 highway. Yep, down in good old SEK.
I actually probably the most prairie chickens I've ever seen in my life in one field was in southeastern Kansas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's some. What's the big grasslands down there?
Well, there's
a couple, but what's the real big one?
There's West Mineral.
No, that's not it. It's out by I believe it's just west of Emporia.
Oh, that's Flint Hills National Grassland.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, southeast Kansas. We're talking like.
Yeah, you're talking way southeast Kansas.
10 minutes from Missouri.
Yeah, I know, but
an hour and a half from Oklahoma.
But if you're going to quarter up the state, yeah. I'm still talking southeast Kansas.
Yeah, it still gets El Dorado, Flint, it's still kind of considered the southeast Kansas part.
Yeah.
But I hunted when I was in college. Then I moved home from college.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to buy a 4-wheel drive pickup because I want to start turkey hunting. And so I started turkey hunting. Of course, I started bird hunting more. I had my own truck and I could haul a buddy. And so I had buddies that, they had family out in Holton, Hiawatha, Marysville. So we hunted that, and you get up to their place and Grandpa had a Brittany or a short hair or a pointer or something. And I moved out west.
Random question for you.
Yeah.
How much, looking back, hindsight, and kind of assessing your hunting career, mm-hmm. how impactful was turkey hunting on the strategy development of your hunting career? Do you think turkey hunting developed a hunting strategy for you that you utilize in other species?
Yes.
I think so too.
I started turkey hunting in 1997. That was my first season.
You've got a few more years. I mean, we're not that far apart in age, but that, you beat me to the punch on a few things.
I hunted.
And then you got like, how old are you?
45. Yeah.
So you're like 7-8 years older. Yeah. So you got almost a decade extra hunting on me.
Well, I knew nobody that turkey hunted. I knew no one.
Well, it wasn't even that big back then.
No.
I mean,
it was just starting. You had,
I would say, like late 2000s.
Early 2000s,
like 2005.
Yes,
it just exploded.
And I think you can chalk that up to like you already had
booming numbers.
You already had the Mossy Oak Real Tree guys already going at it. Cuz Strickland, Will Primos, all those guys were.
Who's the old timer? He did my favorite guy.
My favorite guy, and take nothing away from Will Primos, because I have so many turkey hunting videos and DVDs. It's stupid. You can always still learn more, but yes.
I've got a stack of DVDs that are easily a foot high. If not, no, there's probably 20. I got into turkey hunting in maybe 2007,
mm-hmm.
somewhere in there.
Yeah.
No, it was probably 2005.
Yeah.
And the interaction, that teaching you that you can do, that Newton's law of physics.
Yeah.
Every action is an equal reaction.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And playing that with a wild animal.
Yes.
It was kind of like Lee said today, how did he put that? He used the same thing with a young boy. He said, "You ever heard of action and reaction?"
Yeah.
He says, "You do
the wrong action. You're not gonna like my reaction."
Yeah. Well, and turkeys do the same thing.
Well, turkeys, they roost,
they feed,
they drink, they strut. I mean, they have a habitual. A chicken has the same thing.
Yep.
Pheasant has the same thing. Yep. No matter what anybody will tell you.
Deer do the same thing.
Yeah,
they're just different
animals.
They're all habitual. We're habitual animals.
Yeah.
And it's breaking that habitual animal in us that actually is, I think, where we would drive a lot of success in this.
Yeah.
You go to the same damn tree stand and see the same damn result. You can walk in the field the same damn way with the same damn wind, see the same result. The minute you do it differently, you start to learn something.
And until you face the fact that he's here to survive, to live, to procreate,
and
his eyes are.
Well, he lives there.
Yeah,
you're just visiting.
Yeah, eyes forward, hunter. Eyes on the side, prey.
Yep.
A turkey can see 320 degrees.
Periscopes.
He cannot see exactly the back of his head. That's like the only thing. And he can see over a mile away.
Then he can quit. He can turn that head real quick.
Oh, but turkey hunting did help me because asking that question makes me stop and think. You look at it and you have to know how he's thinking.
Yes.
You have to think. You put out a hen decoy and you put out a Jake decoy, a 3/4 strut or fluffed up or your funky chicken or whatever you want to piss him off to bring him in. You're trying to break his habit.
Yes.
Out of just doing his daily thing. You want to piss him off to come in or to steal the girl or to fight or whatever it is.
Yeah, a lot of times, I mean, you have to go out and find the bird, test his temperament, test what kind of bird he is, and then figure out how you're going to play him.
Yeah.
And that's what that's when I started to, what I felt to build the acumen of a hunter.
Yeah. I'm one of those guys that, you hear guys go, call shy ducks. They've heard it all. Call shy turkeys. He doesn't want to hear it. You ain't said the right thing.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
You either got to talk smack to the boss hen, which
not a great program.
Oh yeah, it is.
You play that game.
Oh yeah.
See, I hate that game.
You ask my buddy, being from Wyandotte County or Crime Dot.
See, but you guys have Rios down here, so it's a little
Rio Easterns. And you have the hybrids.
Yeah,
I hear you're in Rio country.
Yeah,
they're a different bird than an Eastern.
Yeah, they are.
They do not react the same to the same thing. Out here, I can run up in here and do a kiki run, and I'll bring in the hens. It'll bring in the toms.
Even that in spring.
In spring, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I despise, and I've guided it over the years. Now I just tell the guys, in the spring, we've got a pretty good shot at getting your bird. In the fall, it sucks.
Yeah,
I hate it. It's ambush. That's about the only thing you're cutting them off on their path.
Yeah,
that's about the best thing you can do.
Yeah, you can't strike a bird in the fall. It ain't happening.
It's just like I was saying. When guys say call shy ducks or you're calling too much, you're not saying the right thing.
No. And you might be saying the right thing, but you're in the wrong spot.
Nocturnal deer, I do not believe in. You haven't made him come by during the day. You haven't done anything.
You're hunting a 40. You got a buck that's nocturnal on that 40, right? He may never be daytime activity on your 40. May not ever. Mm-hmm. But on the next 40 over, it might be.
Change it. But
so my point is that you have to change the dynamics. You have to not do the same thing and expect the same result or expect a different result.
Yeah. If it's the same thing every time, unless you change it. So with a deer, that buck, he's nocturnal on your place. You need to find something, whether it's scent or food, to change his pattern.
Yep.
A turkey, you have to talk smack to him, hit the right note, whether it's your slate, your box, your mouth call, whatever it is, the decoy.
Back to this thing. You like to talk smack or the boss hand.
Oh yeah.
What's your strategy there though? Are you trying to piss her off to bring her in? Or are you just trying to over compete with her for that top?
My whole thing is beat her to the punch to waken everybody up.
Really?
Yeah. When a lot of guys will wait till they hear the bird, I wake them up.
See, I've taken that strategy a few times, and I've had a lot of success with that strategy. Every time that I sit on my laurels and I wait to hear, okay, they're starting to wake up, and then you're already behind the fucking 8 ball.
You can hear them sometimes, ruffling and getting, they're not calling yet.
No.
But just straight up, just a good bellow on that yelp. And then next thing he hears, he gobbles and then the other guy, and then the other guy. No. And then next thing you know, they're ping-ponging across the river, the creek, or whatever behind you. And you're like, oh, there's more here than I thought. Well, who wants to play today?
Yeah.
Who doesn't know they're dead already? Dirt nap, aisle 1, check. That's me. My buddy Blake, we went on a good run of just smashing turkeys.
No, I'll play the game you're talking about. Yeah. And I like that game. But yeah, I've been head to toe with hens before, and I don't like that game. On the ground, head to toe, you got a hen who's trying to pull that tom away from you. You're going to lose almost every time. At least up in Eastern country by me.
Not if you make her come in and want to fight your hen.
See, and I don't know how to play that game. No, we're not on a turkey hunting podcast right now. No, I think, but we will have you back on. I would like to have you back on talk turkey hunting strategy. You're a bird nut, and every time I have the conversation with you, Todd, we get down another rabbit hole. When another kind of reason to have you on. So I'm really I'm really glad that this one hard. Boom. We're not re-recording this one. This one's going out to everybody.
Just put it to you this way. If you took it where I couldn't hunt birds with bird dogs, I'd strictly turkey hunt.
I believe that.
And if
I can see it in how you're talking about turkeys.
Yeah. And I'm fully invested in bird dogs and upland hunting. And if you took turkey hunting away, my Jamie would leave me. Completely. She'd be like, I have to deal with you with pheasants and bird dogs and ducks, because I duck hunt too. I have to deal with you with turkeys. You don't need, you need to find something else. You know what I'd probably do? I'd probably start deer hunting again. And that is just, I got, deep into bow hunting pretty hard.
Did you?
Yeah, I did for a little bit. I had some good leases and if it ain't a 180 or bigger whitetail, it really don't trip my trigger. Living out here, the big muleys they just hit my trigger just bad.
Well, we were standing in that house tonight, and that muley you had in there mounted was a gorgeous muley. Mm-hmm. That's a buck of a lifetime for me. If it was a whitetail size, we talked about that. That's a 180-inch class deer. Yeah. And in northeastern Wisconsin, we've got Buffalo, Trempealeau County, some of the best deer hunting in the country. I truly believe. But your deer have 100 pounds on ours. And we're corn-fed deer too, man.
We don't get as cold as you. We do. But not as long as you.
Yes.
Do, which wears on their bodies.
Well, and we don't have the deep snow. Mm-hmm. You don't have the deep snow that we do. There is typically food that they can get access to.
Yeah.
Where we have that harsh portion of the winter from about now, mid-January, up until March. Mm-hmm. And once that snow starts to disappear, and that really, I think, plays both on physical size of the deer. We're going to... Oh, that's the wrong button. I think it's this one.
Yep.
But yeah, you guys just unbelievable sized deer. So when the listener hear you say that, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, Todd. Sound like you're on a little bit of a pedestal there, but because of where you live, it's a realistic thing. And guys that are hunting in Wisconsin and very happy to shoot 120-inch whitetail, that's just how it is out here. Yeah. It's the same thing. Yeah. Like we've got a shit ton of deer. We got way more deer than you guys. Mm-hmm. I mean, your 180 class buck you see down here is kind of like, our buck 50 up north. Yeah. We see a lot of them. Well, but in comparison per capita, your deer just are something different. There's a reason that Kansas called the land of the giants, when it comes to whitetail. And
well, you look at it in the aspects of what always annoys me is you get guys that finally draw a Kansas mule deer tag, and I go into my friend Cindy's taxidermy shop, and you see what they bring in, and I'm like, you wasted a 3 or 4 year draw on that. It's a 2x2.
That's 4 corners.
I get the whole trophy to, it's a trophy to him. You put in the money, the time, the draw for a deer with horns. If you just want meat, go shoot a whitetail doe. We got plenty of those, and so do other states. Stay home and do it. I'll probably ruffle feathers with it. I don't care. You've picked up on me. I don't care.
That's why I like you.
Yeah, I just don't care.
You're very much like myself. Yeah. I'm going to say call kettle black. Don't call the kettle black.
It's, so why would you? I don't even care if it's the last day. All you've got is this weekend. Drive out the next weekend. Okay. Don't.
No, last day of the season, only deer he's seen. Yeah. He wants to fill his tag. Are you going to harp on him that bad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Leave the little guy.
Yeah. If you're going to take,
they will grow.
If you're going
whitetail mule deer, it doesn't matter. Elk, the whole 9 yards.
If you're going to take that stand, and that's the stance you're going to, I 100% agree with you.
If you won't spend, it's $450 or better to mount a deer, and you're going to spend that on.
Oh yeah, you mentioned the taxidermist too.
Why?
European mount looks really good, and you can do that yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Exactly. So to me,
and if you want to pay somebody, they do it for. My neighbor does it for $80.
How many people?
And he'll hydro dip it for you too. Yeah, there you go. I think that's what it's called.
I'll tell you, the first whitetail I ever poked, if it broke 126 inches, which I know that's exactly what it was 126 inches, 4x4. It was my first deer. He was a nice buck. He was an old buck. He wasn't going to get any bigger. And it was my first deer. He came in and did it textbook. I smoked him. I got my first deer out of the way. Was he respectable something to mount? No. But I took him out of I called him and I was done.
Yeah.
It was opening Saturday. I was done.
And he ate.
Yeah, he ate. And then I turned around and the next year shot another whitetail buck. Pretty decent. Still ain't figured out where that head is. I don't know. Then 2000, I shot my first mule deer. My first mule deer was 146 inches. Real tall.
It's a nice
basket. Yeah, nice. He was respectable for a young mule deer. For 46 inch mule deer. Yeah, I just did a whole skull mount. I mean, didn't do a full skull mount, European or anything. I just chopped off his rack, and it's got the fancy little, cap on it, velvet cap. But the next deer was bigger. It was, 180.
It's kind of how I've always.
You should want to get
keep
better.
Going up the ladder.
It's like now the guy that it's his first year bow hunting or it's his first rifle hunt, and he pokes that little 3x3, 4x4, 5x, it's a props. You got one under your belt.
Yep.
Now go for buster.
Yep.
Go for bust. Don't. It's like, there's guys, I'm a meat hunter. Then don't ever let me see you purchase a buck tag. Don't. If you say I can't eat horns, don't purchase a buck tag. I know that'll ruffle some feathers, but don't. Why then? Help the herd.
I'm telling you right now, like you are gonna ruffle some feathers, but I'm okay with it because I'm right there with you. And so much so that I'm right there with you that my uncle leases land with me, and now I give my uncle a lot of slack. I told you earlier, he got some health ailments, whatnot. He's over his prime. Who you're talking to is the guy who can go out, shoot a deer, and drag it out himself. But at the same token, my uncle shot 5 effing bucks this year.
Yeah.
And you can do a pretty good number on him down in Alabama where his second lease is. But what irked me was that, and sorry, Joe, but you text me one morning, hey, I just passed a buck. I'm going, holy cow, is he turning over a new leaf? Like, yeah. And then, holy cow, I have to pass that buck. A big one showed up. I'm like, this is how it works, Joe. You cannot put your tag on 160th whitetail. 160-inch whitetail. See, the whiskey's starting to catch up. If you shoot the first buck you see, because that first buck you see, almost 99.9% of the time is not that 160-inch whitetail.
How do deer move into a field?
The smallest one first.
The smallest one.
And smallest and dumbest one first.
He comes out and he looks left and looks right. Yeah. Okay. Then he trickles out, and then he gets a little bit further. Oh, and there's another one. Oh, and there's another one. And then there's another one.
And guess who's last?
And then here comes button buck, and then here comes 2x2, and then you might get a 4x, an 8-pointer with some 10s and some 12s. And if you wait and look in the back, put the scope up to your eye and peer down that sucker and start looking back behind, and you'll catch that dogo over her shoulder look. There's something else coming. And
I'll be honest, that big buck might not ever step out in the field. But guess what he will do? He will stand on that edge.
Stand on that edge.
And he'll eat.
Last shooting light, and he goes, just check my watch. It's 5:49. It's time to step out.
Yeah.
That's 10 minutes after shooting light.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've got footage. I told you that split G2 buck my neighbor shot. The footage of that buck for 2 years. That's exactly what he did.
Yeah.
I got him on daylight, but it took me this second year, and I had to change things like you were talking about earlier. And I go into the woods, find his bedding area, find that travel corridor. Where was he staging out?
Yeah.
Because he was on his hoof in shooting hours. Yeah. And they all are, like to your point earlier.
Yeah.
That buck, that nocturnal buck, he's on his hoof somewhere. Might not be on your 40, might be the neighbor's. Yeah. But if you're not changing it, you're not trying to figure that out, you're never going to shoot him. And
when we put a corn pile out, you're supplementing to get their attention.
Yes.
Give them something different. Give him a little candy. Put a little apple crush on there.
Can you guys do all that stuff down here? Yeah. Even with the CWD, and I don't want to go down that road because you and I talked about that. Yeah. That's a whole nother podcast. Yeah. But in Wisconsin specifically, they leverage the CWD to kind of cut out the baiting. Yeah. And they do it county rolls. Dude, you got to check the freaking regs every year. Yeah. My county was on baiting, no baiting, on baiting, no baiting. It's my question, I guess, is that I would have assumed Kansas would have been more restrictive with some of the other diseases that your herd sees outside of CWD. So you can still bait.
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah. Feeders, pile, whatever you want to do. Yeah.
Feeders too, huh?
Yeah.
We don't even get to use them electric feeders up north. You can't electric feeders like turn on me
7 o'clock every morning. Here it comes. Oh, here comes the turkeys. Here comes the whitetail. Yeah.
Some things are crazy.
Yeah. But like I was saying, I ruffle some feathers when I say it. If it's your first deer, and read up, do your research, watch. All you have to do is watch Real Tree Outdoors, Road Trips, whatever, with Michael Waddell, Bill Jordan, Tyler Jordan, all those guys. They're sitting up on the Powder River, and watch them trickle into the field. And you'll see them, and the sun's going down, and all of a sudden, here comes that big buck out of that cut. And they've been watching for the last 100 yards coming down that hill. There's a bunch of other couple shooters in there, or bucks that should be called. They're not pulling the trigger. And I've sat there and been like, well, I'd poke that deer.
Oh, yeah.
I'd dial him in, Johnny. Yeah. Tap me. Go ahead. Fire. Boom. And then it's like, oh, yeah. While you're staring at that 162, here comes 189 walking down the hill. If you'll just wait.
Yeah. Well, and
the guy, the disabled, the kid, the first deer. Yeah. I have no, pat him on the back. Get your first deer. But if you've been at it 20 years and I see you've got $3,000 worth of scent lock and you've got the bag and you plug it in and it's in the car and you get dressed on the tailgate because this and that and blah, 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 blah. And you do everything by the book of what all the other hunting shows tell you to do.
Then pick up the quality deer management book.
Bingo.
Yeah, I totally agree. Wisconsin gives me tags, right? I get a buck tag. I get 3 doe tags. There's a reason they're giving me 1 buck tag and 3 doe tags, because they want me to harvest 3 does to 1 buck. Because what does that tell you?
Ratio.
Yes.
Herd
management.
Yes. Management.
It's all herd management.
West Virginia, you have to shoot a doe. Go check it in.
Oh, don't get me started on the earn a buck shit.
Yeah.
I will tell you this: during earn a buck in Wisconsin, we went through that phase. I saw the biggest whitetails bucks that I've ever seen in my life, outside of the one that I described to you last fall. Or was that Ty? Maybe it was somebody else. I have a really magnificent giant run out in the road on me last year. Yeah. For sure, the biggest whitetail I've ever seen in the huff. However, during earn a buck, I saw 170s, 180s on the hoof because guys couldn't shoot them because they didn't have a buck tag. Mm-hmm. But what I also saw was guys would shoot a doe and they would take that fucking doe around to every single registration, let every one of their buddies register that doe. So Virginia has a whole nother thing coming for them. And depending on how things are done, it has a propensity to lead itself to skewed numbers, which lead to skewed herd management practices. So that was my big thing with the earn a buck. There's just no way to enforce it. And especially the way all of these agencies are going with registration. You mentioned you had to take deer in somewhere. So that was a big thing that Wisconsin, we still had to take them in. Now, depending on where you took your deer, the old lady behind the counter at the grocery store or the gas station, she didn't want to go outside. Mm-hmm. She filled out the form. She gives you a little thing. She's supposed to go outside, slit the ear, put it in there, done. But she don't want to do it. So there's all of these gaps. Yeah. Gaps. And I'm not one to talk about adding additional hurdles for hunters and issues. But when our number one policy driven device that drives policy is deer management numbers that are reported numbers. And then you have situations where now you're forcing hunters who want to shoot a buck, who have the wrong mentality that we're talking about, but now they go out and shoot a doe and 10 more people register that doe. We have screwed up numbers going into already a screwed up policy system, which just breeds screwed upness.
Well, see, that I don't, now in West Virginia, to my knowledge, because I used to work with two brothers that were from West Virginia. Sure. So they buy their.
And we're really getting out there commenting on stuff that's like.
But they, what was cool was, because they were telling me their sportsman's tag.
Yeah.
So that was their small game for the year. And they got I think they got $2 and 3 does, or $2 and 4 does, whatever it was.
And that's a combo you could do at archery or bow.
Yeah. But the thing was, they could bring a doe and a buck in at the same time, but it had to be together. You couldn't just bring in a buck first. You had to bring in a doe first.
Yeah.
Have it checked, but you could shoot your buck. You better bring in your doe to have it checked at the same time.
But do you know how freaking valuable that doe is to other hunters?
Yeah.
I mean, you know what guys have done to shoot whitetails, big whitetails, bucks. Mm-hmm. My father loved him to death, but he was so effing corrupted by chasing those deer. Us boys, we never got to sit his best tree stand. Never, ever. If we got in down, our scent went downwind 100 yards to that freaking area, we got our ass chewed. Mm-hmm. I hunted with a lot of people who, I would show up at their place, guess, never been there before, know their family, but, went to high school with the kid or whatever. And the old man would drag me out to his best stand, put me up in the damn thing, get up there with me, tell me where all the deer are going to come in, and tell me good luck and leave.
Yeah.
Like totally different foreign thing. So my point to all that is that there's different people out there, and there are people that are driven beyond their moral code to shoot a whitetail or any, deer with big horns. That I have a huge gripe with that one, because I really think it screws up our numbers and it screws up the policy around it, because there's too many screwed up guys that need to shoot a buck that we're talking, and that same guy is the guy that's going to go out and shoot that fork horn, It's a tough deal. Like it really takes us hunters to look in the damn mirror.
Yeah.
And it's a gut check, dude.
Our mule deer population is just, it's awful. I mean, we have big deer of, whitetail and mule deer, but
I've only seen a few mule deer my whole entire time coming to Kansas.
If we had time and that expensive gold we're putting in the tank right now, I could drive you to a few pastures, literally where we're at, about 15-ish. Well, not even that. We could go about 8 miles up the road.
Sure.
I could take you to a pasture. And if they had, which mule deer never shed till I've turkey hunted and seen them dropping them then, and show you some big mule
deer.
Yeah. In this country right here, there's some, because it's this country right here, a lot of big, heavy, non-typical mule deer around this area.
Yeah.
A little further west, you get a little bit,
more typical.
They get a little more wider.
Yeah.
Which that's like, for me, I like that 30 plus wide, 32, 34. That's what irks me about the mule deer that I see get shot. And even the whitetail too. It's like, have you ever picked up Big Buck magazine? Have you ever picked up Trophy Hunter magazine and seen what is in Utah and Wyoming and all those up in those big mountain muleys and stuff like that? And it's like, boys, the coveted Pike County, Illinois tags, and stuff like that. There's monsters in there if you let them get that way.
Yeah.
And I can show you 3 pictures of monster muleys that were taken by friends of mine this year that you do look at it and go, that's Wyoming. They don't, because unless you'll hunt for them and not shoot the first thing that steps out Wednesday morning of opening day of Kansas rifle season. You know, if you don't, you'll find them big. It's just like upland hunting. You want to hunt, there's birds, and I hate giving away my tip, but you want to kill birds in Kansas on public ground. I'm not talking about the stuff around the state lakes and stuff that just gets pounded. But the weehaw that's out in the middle of nowhere, get away from the gravel road.
100%.
Walk to the back corner, because every bird's been pushed to that corner because it's too far from the pretty little suburban Denali or whatever that came out from Kansas City.
Even if you look at it, just pure numbers, right? Let's say you got 10 trucks that drive by that piece of property in one given day. 5 of them decide to get out. 3 of them walk half of the property. 1 of them walks 75%. 0 walk 100% of it. Every single piece of weehaw property in this state, I can guarantee you I can skin the numbers the exact same way.
I will tell you, half of them, I won't even say it, a quarter of them don't look at the piece of ground and figure out how to
walk it. Yeah.
Your wind factor, your cover
Dude,
factor.
and I'm guilty of this too, though. I mean, and I know you are. You drive down that road and you're looking at property and you're cruising, you're 35, 45 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. You're on a mission. You won't find a new piece of property. Well, you catch it out of the corner of your eye. You slam on them damn brakes. That looks like a great piece of property, and you're excited as shit. And you jump out, grab the gun, don't even look at your freaking phone. Maybe you saw one bird go in there, and grab dog, boom, you're on the ground. And it's 15 minutes later before you realize, oh shit, I should have probably looked at this. It don't look that good.
Yeah.
And you turn around, put the dog up, down the road you go. That piece of property, you would have stayed there another 10 minutes, you probably would have gotten birds. Mm-hmm. And I'm throwing a hypothetical out there, but that hypothetical I think plays out every single day out here, because I have moved birds in some of the places that I would have never thought to see birds. I walked it on Thursday morning. I walked a piece, but I did this exact same thing. I caught it out of the corner, I slammed them. There, all right, that's cover I'd like to walk. What hesitated me was rye, winter rye. I don't like winter rye all that much, There's nothing there. Am I wrong with that judgment? I mean, maybe there's some wheat stubble left over from it being picked, but it's been turned over, it's been replanted, and there's not a lot to it. There's not a lot of grain element to it. Not this time of year, but there was Milo to the north. So that I got up.
But did that wheat stubble have green grass in it?
No. This was rye, winter rye, green winter rye. There's nothing to it. Yeah. There was a wheat stubble field to the south that did have green in it.
I'll hunt a stubble field, and I'm not talking about Milo stubble. I'm talking about wheat stubble.
Yeah,
especially stripper wheat. Oh yeah, Daddy. I'll hit that all day. Especially on like this afternoon, like we had. If we'd have found some good looking wheat stubble, like across the road from where we hunted this afternoon in the grass field, I really wanted to go run that.
Did you really?
I did. Yeah, I was like.
Well, what I was looking at was the edges of that. Some of those edges look really nice.
For me, it's that wheat stubble. It's got that volunteer wheat down there on the bottom, up against that CRP.
Yeah,
back and forth. They got food. They can go back and forth and roost. Of course, there was food plots in where we were at too.
Yeah, but we were hunting some groomed property.
Yeah, I mean it was ridiculously
we
well manicured.
And we had Tyler's son came out too, which was a big I wanted to, in hindsight, I would have done things a little bit differently had I known all of the dynamics. But yeah, I was really glad to at least participate in getting this kid out.
He's in that in between where he can carry a gun, but his want to is not going to last as long as the field is.
Yep.
That gun's going to get real heavy.
Oh yeah.
I saw him on that first walk. It was
I saw 100 yards in.
Heavy.
100 yards in.
I was going, Tyler, I've been there. I've been there with my baby girls, but that's kind of one of those. I did that a few times where I took a gun, they took a gun. Well, then I gave them one of my guns. And it was, I'll hold the shells, you carry the gun.
Yeah.
And when you get tired, Daddy will carry the gun.
Yeah, exactly. And usually there's plenty of shooting left for you.
and them girls got more kick out of watching Dad work the dogs,
Well, and that's a great introduction. Because it's a soft introduction.
Yeah.
There's no commitment on their part. They get to watch you do something.
We're doing something together.
Exactly. And they get to watch this other thing that isn't you, that they love to death, fulfill its destiny. Yeah. The circle comes to them. Yeah. They actually get to see what the dog's threaded purpose was.
Yeah, they've my girls spend a lot of time they watch puppies literally get born.
Well, yeah, and you're way more immersed into it than me. But for the average guy, that experience is what draws the full circle of why I have Bird-Dog at home.
Yeah. Yeah, my two daughters they lost. They had no idea. They got brainwashed. There was not. It just seeped into them, and they see a short hair, they see an old lab like we used to have. Oh, it looks like and that's they love dogs because they've grown up with a dog in their face, their whole life.
It's special,
but I was
special for those kids too, man.
I watched when we went on that second walk when we moved over to that other field. He didn't have a gun,
no,
but he had a smile.
Yeah, he did.
And
what was he doing? He was playing with his Bird-Dog.
Yeah, he was playing with the puppy, and and then he was Then they went over there, and then there's one over here. And you should go look over there. And I was going. He was having fun. He doesn't know this now, but that
he won't forget it.
He will not forget. It is ingrained. He will remember that when Tyler can barely go. Like Lee, he can barely get there.
Yep.
He still wants. He's like, yeah, I'm going to be Lee. In 40 years. I
think so. You and Lee would be two peas in a pod, man. He had a couple great lines.
Oh yeah, he's classic. Like I would have no shame to have coffee with that man every morning.
Oh hell no!
It's like
I felt bad. Like we were in there, and I knew like here we're kind of newly acquainted, and you came out to hang out with me and Tyler's. We're not at his place, but he's brought us in. So he's in this spot with limbo. And I'm just kind of sitting here going, God, I can sit here and listen to his stories all day long, but I got Todd here. And,
well, we didn't just get bird hunting stories and bird dog stories, and we got
life 100%.
Yeah. And I was just like,
listen to his
that coffee going, Mom. Let's go.
Listen to his wife go. Yeah. He came out. I think he thought I said, there's somebody robbing the place. He could turn the corner, point the sheriff. I got a lot of laughs today, and honestly, looking back at it, I'm not going to remember the bird hunting for me. Today, I'm going to remember the camaraderie.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, I mean, like I said, I was bummed watching, Colton through that first field because, like, he wanted to go and he wanted to kill the guy, he wanted to get a bird. And then it was just.
And then reality set in.
It's just so much. That was very thick CRP, very, very, very good cover. And so I started going, if I'm scuffling my feet the way I am because it's a thick growth, imagine how he is.
What's short legs going to do?
What's little guy going to do, And, of course, Tyler, he's wanting to go.
Yep.
And he's got a dad at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
And
and that's why like you're kind of going off to the left.
Yeah,
I'm kind of pushing off to the right. I'm just going, as long as Todd and I separate, like those two will catch up.
I kind of kept looking. I was like, okay, you're kind of veering that way. I was like, if I go away, not ahead, but away while they're coming up.
Yep.
And knowing this from guiding,
same
with older guys,
yep,
I can get that line back to where it was, and the dad part of me kicks in with Colton there. The guide part of me kicks in with Colton there because I've been down this road multiple times in 20 years with dad and the son. I'm like, I'm so used to get over here. That's why I told him when we got up there on that hill and decided how we were. I was like, get over here on this mode path.
Yeah.
Trying to make it easier for him to still have fun.
Well, and I had said, even before you said that, like I had taken the outside path and got that rooster, and I had taken that because I'm hoping, I'm going to get on the outside, get kind of around everybody, and we're hitting the corner of that section, and I'm going, well, if I can kind of swing this.
Swing it, yeah.
I
was watching. I was like, I know what you're doing. I got you. I'm going to do it on this side.
Well, and then that damn thing got up, and I'm like, if he had taken a harder left, I was like, but he just got up right there, and he's going straight to the neighbor. He ain't going to get over that fence. Screw that.
In the whole situation, I'm sitting here watching these birds are blowing out in front of me. Of course, what was crazy, like they were 60 yards in front of the dogs. The dogs were picking them up, and then by the time the dog could go lock up, he's 40, 60 yards ahead of the dogs, and you're like, yeah, it ain't gonna happen. But then when those couple got up right there by Tyler and Cole, I was like, okay, so we had a good time.
Yep.
And but sitting there, and I
look at it from a guide perspective, and you'll relate to this. Opportunity was created.
Yeah.
And that's the big key.
Yeah. I wanted to see him, like would have topped it off to see the little man, actually get one.
Dude, I knew within the first 100 yards there was no way that gun was going to get fired.
And that's where it was crushing me because
I know it was too.
Tyler's wanting to have that for him, and he wants to do that because he wants to get that. That's something him and Tyler can do.
Yep. As a dad, as a dog handler, an amateur dog handler, might add, a guy that handles his dogs fairly well, not very well, but fairly well. I understand where he was at, and I again would have done things different if I understood the full dynamics. If I had been there and hunted that piece of property for, understood what the game plan was. Yeah. I definitely, in hindsight, would have done things differently. Yeah. But at the same time, I told Tyler with his little draught, I want her to get it. I'm like, dude, he's 4.5 months old. Like, you ran that dog in 3 days. The dog got out of the truck done. Like today, it was not going to do what you wanted it to do. It's tired. Like there's 4 dogs out in the field and 3 hunters plus your son. Yeah. Too many distractions. And I kind of, he said something about, Colton. And I said, dude, it's
going to happen.
As he's going, I go, look at, he's out here. How many distractions? I use the same term as dog. How many distractions does he have? It's a tough scenario. This is not, I say, and I use the term too. He's got short legs. He's a little kid, he can't keep up with us.
Short legs, thick grass,
So, don't beat yourself up on it. Yeah, you did what you needed to do.
Don't make a bad situation out of
your boy's here.
Yeah,
That's more than half the battle.
Because in a couple years, when he's probably grown 1.5 foot,
and he can shoot better than you now.
Yeah, and he'll shoot better than you because he's going to go out to Lee's, and Lee's going to help him get there. Yeah. We know that.
Oh yeah.
But you get to that, and it's the whole thing, though. It's he have something with him.
He was telling you to, Dad, the dog. He was talking about his dog. Oh yeah, no, the nose came on. Same thing happened with the kid. As soon as those abilities and the physical abilities and the acumen from the mental standpoint come up to, like you said, 12, 15, whatever. When he's not he makes that first shoot of the beanpole.
Yep.
It'll be game on.
But here's the thing, and I've seen this a million times. I've taken out dads and sons and dads and daughters. I got lucky enough that when mine got tired of carrying the gun, they just want to be with Dad.
Yeah.
They wanted to see me kill one over the dog, and they wanted to take the bird from the dog.
Yeah. Well,
because they watched me do it training.
Mm-hmm.
And what always killed me was,
holy cow! We just keep going at these things, man. You finish your thought though.
Yeah.
I just looked at the clock and how long we've been rapping here.
But I've had my daughters out there multiple times, and they just put up a gun. I'm like, you want to hunt? All right, I'm good. I'm like, you want to sit in the truck, or no? I just want to go with you because that's what we do.
Yeah,
they went turkey hunting with me and just sat on my lap. They didn't, they were doing that before. But that's what we do, and it's what we have.
Well, and it's special. Cherish it, man. Not everybody's got it.
Oh yeah.
And even for the people who think they have it, it can be gone in a heartbeat because you're competing with video games. Yeah. And I'm sorry, as much as you and I both know and love. And absolutely know in our heart of hearts, the outdoors is way more entertaining than a video game. Kids don't know that. And there's too much pressure. Yeah. You have to compete. You are pushing water uphill competing against everything in their life right now. And if you can get them out there, don't matter if they carry a gun because they're going to want to go back. It's just about positive experiences in the outdoors and bottom line.
I've been told multiple times. I had two pretty girls like, oh, just wait till them boys come along. You won't be as important. Even when there's been a boy, I've been like, you guys want to go hunting? Yep. It's never mattered. And a couple times I've been like, well, do you want the boy to go? No, just me and you.
Your dad though, man. And as long as your dad, and I mean that. And here's a call out, and people aren't going to like this, but we don't have as many men as we used to in this country. And it just takes being a dad, a man, stepping up, doing, and you don't have to take them hunting, but just be a dad.
You do stuff with them.
Yeah.
My girls have handed me wrenches. We built stuff. We fixed stuff.
Dude, you're still talking foreign to a lot of people. What you should have said is just go to the damn movies with them. I mean, no, but seriously, it is as little as an act of that. And so much today.
I've went shopping with my girls.
That's so absent-minded though, man. I mean, like we get so busy. Yeah. You know how it is. And, you go to work, come home, you got errands to run, wife's got things for you to do, and all of a sudden it's 9:00 and you're going to bed and you haven't even really spent any time with your son or daughter. Yeah. I am guilty of it, 100%. Life's tough, and it gets in the way all the time.
Life happens.
So, like today with Tyler and his kid, I felt happy. Yeah. I know there was some confusion at the time on Tyler on how he felt because, we all want more for our kids. And we all want our kids to jump in and do exactly what we did, follow our footsteps, and make us proud, right? But we all run at different paces. And we're all different shapes and sizes. I know 9-year-old boys that wouldn't have had a hard time carrying a 12-gauge shotgun today. Well, Tyler's son is not quite hit that pipsqueak to high school kid growth yet. I mean, and he's in 3rd grade. Yeah. Sometime between 3rd and 6th, he's going to be a big kid.
Yeah.
Just the way
stout guy. He's
gonna grow but you keep pushing him. I mean, he was collecting feathers, playing with that draught in the corner there, in between all of us. And like you said, birds went there, and he was excited. Oh yeah, that is all that mattered for the day.
Well, like you just said, he was over there playing with the puppy and the feathers and doing this, and we were having our conversation. And he came over and was conversating with us too, and he'd go back over with the puppy. He was happy to be there. He was having a good time. He was outside.
No cell phone, no computer, no screen,
no
period.
Screen, no iPad, no nothing.
Living and breathing the cleanest of clean.
Yeah. Air and
nature, seeing it all.
Yeah. He got everything he needed today, and he don't even know it.
Mm-hmm.
And, like you said Tyler was a little bit worried about, if it was okay. I'm going to tell you to bring the kid, and I'm going to tell you to bring the puppy.
Yep.
Because they ain't going to learn unless you take them.
Well, and honestly, like I said, in hindsight, I would have volunteered to leave my shotgun behind to sit there and coach him. Had I known what was going on, had I had the experience of walking that piece of property before and kind of understanding what to expect, I would have. And I know you would have, yeah. And I think Tyler would have too. It's just sometimes we want too much for them. Mm-hmm. We have to work at their pace. Just like dogs, we have to work at their pace. And Colton got to carry a shotgun today. He got to tire himself out. He got to feel like he was a man today. That alone.
He got to hunt. He got to go hunting. And he hunted today.
Yep.
He was outside. It's you just got to take them.
Yep.
You just got to spend time with them.
Well, and what's cool about today, and we'll move on from this after this, but with hunting, firearms, all this stuff, there's an inherent responsibility that's there. When a 9-year-old gets gifted the responsibility of getting to hang out with mature adults and carry that gun, you and I don't know how he felt about that. Tyler doesn't know how he felt about that. That was a privilege for him that he won't understand until later in life. And hopefully it comes around full circle when he gets to step and repeat that with his kid. But hopefully that was a very powerful experience for him. And it takes, it didn't have to kill birds. Like, we just had to have a good attitude and put them out there. And it was a good experience. And keep it positive. And that's...
I'm a person of give credit where credit's due.
Mm-hmm.
If Tyler listens to this, he's got a good boy.
Yeah, he does.
He has done a good job with him, because I stepped into a field with a kid I did not know, and I didn't feel unsafe.
No,
I didn't. There was no.
Did I look back and see what they were doing? Absolutely, but I would do that regardless of the hunter's age.
I was looking back to make sure him and Tyler were okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then so I can kind of, we can all get back in line together and all that,
Yeah, so that was a lot of it. But, like I was getting ready to say, if Tyler didn't have a gun for him and my gun would have shot, I'd have given him my gun.
Same. Well, I tried to give him my 28 gauge.
I tried to give him mine too. I'm like, well, this thing's a little smart. Because he's like, oh, shells in it. I'm like,
I got a 20 gauge.
I got plenty of shells. I'd been like, he can take my 20 and I'll get my 12. Or he can just take my 20.
Yeah.
I'll run dogs.
Yeah.
That's 90% of why I'm out here, because I love the dang dogs and watching them work. That was, we saw good dog work today.
We did.
It's not tooting my dogs, but the dogs did good today.
They all did good.
Unexceptional circumstances with, not a lot of moisture, kind of dry, got a little warm.
Kind of dry.
Yeah.
Kind of dry.
Oxymoron.
Although you guys got snow at some point in the recent past,
yeah,
it's still culmination of it's the driest season I've had down here in 6 years.
I love watching dogs work. And when we got to that field and you let your two out, I was like, cool. I get to watch other dogs. Not just mine.
Well, that's how I felt this morning, man.
I get tired of looking, pardon my expression, their behinds all the dang time because they're always in front of me. But it's looking. I love bird dogs and whatever it is. And we won't mention our other dogs there, but but watching dogs, and your dogs were great. And
Thank you.
You said exactly. You had a sprinter and a marathon runner, and then I saw every side of them. I saw them, what their birdie aspects, what their little quirks are. So that was, I love watching dogs. And watching Brooke.
Yeah.
She was doing the dumb puppy.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, look at there. There's a piece of grass flying away.
Oh,
and the next thing you know, she's over there running with my dogs or with your dogs. And then she's back over here. And she's hanging with Tyler. And she's over with, Cole. And I love watching puppies.
I know. I was watching that puppy quite a bit over the last 3 days. And I could see in Tyler. He's like, he's got that. He wants that 6-month-old dog, and it's 4.5 months. I love him to death, but you can see it.
He wanted Tyler's ultimate day. Brooke to point,
and Colton to shoot.
Yeah. He would have been done for. He'd still be talking about it. He'd be calling people right now. But he shared time in the field with his son and with his dog.
He set the stage on that day.
Yes.
He planted the seeds to reap the reward on that day later.
But like we said, Colton was back there playing with that dog and the feathers, and he's got a bond with that dog.
Yep.
And it's just going to grow.
And he's at that perfect age where once
sucked in. He's basically Tyler screwed himself.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because which
he thinks I'm calling him right now to go hunting. Wait till the boy and the pup are ready.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Lee is going to help him in any way with his situation. I
got the impression at the conversation today that those TriStars. I think he may have had a plan for one of them. I think he was a little pissed about that.
I could kind of gather that.
Yeah. Well, at least he wanted to hand that one of those shorter or smaller calibers off to a younger kid. I think today.
I had a pretty good gun collection to go through. A divorce, and you have to sell them because they're like gold. They retain their value mostly if you buy good ones.
Yeah, I know. I
wish like I had.
You can't inform your wife about all the firearms you own.
Jamie.
Sorry, Iris, I love you.
Jamie's been well informed of what I've bought in the last few years, and so there's that. But if I had bought guns, when I was buying guns with intentions, I can give this to Aaron, and I can give this to Anna, and I bought Aaron. I handed her down the 22 my dad gave me. That was his, and I gave it to her when she was 9, just like I got mine when I was 9. And I gave her over my first shotgun, my first pump shotgun. Didn't do anything with single shot, but I gave her my first pump shotgun that I got. Anna, I bought her first little pink Cricket 22, and she loved it. She thought it was the greatest thing ever. And then this year for her 16th birthday, I bought her a new CZ Drake over and under. she started shooting. They got.
Had Drake got a single trigger?
Yes. Yeah. And best part is she was using her boyfriend's gun or dad's gun at the time, and she was doing good. And then she went up 10 rock when she got her new gun. Now, I don't know if that has to do a little bit with dad got me a gun.
Yeah.
I kind of want it to, because it's like,
oh, it's
daddy.
Do you know what it's like?
Yeah.
You ever play golf?
Mm-hmm.
You get I got a set of golf clubs from my grandfather. Like, this was right when I was in the impact of playing golf. Yeah. Or it impacted me when I was playing golf. Yeah. They were original Ping Eyes, like from the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. Yeah. This was mid 2000. Like, these things are ancient in the golf world. Mm-hmm. But because I got new clubs, I played really good. Mm-hmm. And and I was telling you about it, and my goals and intentions for the trip coming down here. This is a lesson for everybody, and we can probably look at kind of wrapping this up with this, and you can share your thoughts on this. But I told you, my mom passed away, and I was in funk, and any little thing that would go bad, I'd eat myself up on it, just to a certain degree, enough to create literally a rain cloud above my head of bad luck every day. And I'd come down on these trips, and there's so much going on. Like, I picked up my truck, I just threw shit in it. Like, I don't know where half my shit is. And it's easy to get caught up in the little shit. Mm-hmm. And I told myself this year, new year, new attitude, new deal. Go have fun. Something bad's going to happen. So what? Go out and fucking deal with it. Yeah. Excuse my language. Yeah. Excuse my French. But life happens, in a sense. And the reason I'm kind of saying this is because I looked at this as something I did guiding last year. And it was so easy to do external. Not so easy to do internally. On my boat, I can control one thing, my attitude. My attitude translates to how my customers have an experience. I'm in the hospitality industry. I'm in the experience creation industry. Uh-huh. And if I have a bad attitude, I create a bad experience. Uh-huh. Same thing goes in life. Either you're dealing with people out here or you're dealing with something in your head. Uh-huh. Same thing. So I looked at it and I'm like, I have one mission this morning. Get Todd a Bob White. And we walked out of the first field. Mission accomplished. Hang your hat on the small stuff, because it sure makes it a lot easier to really celebrate the big stuff. Yep. So, I don't know, a little inspiration for folks. But you're talking, kids and all this stuff. It's the little stuff that matters. It's you got to get to an end goal, right? Yeah. Well, if you don't worry about step 1, step 2, step 3, the little steps to get you down the path to make the snowball roll and to get you going and the inertia to get to the goal, you ain't getting there. Same thing, hunting, whatever your life pursuits are, dealing with kids, marriage, whatever. Yeah. Take the little wins. Turn them into little wins. Keep the wins going.
They'll outnumber
the losses.
The losses before long.
Oh, as long as you look at them as wins. Yeah. You have to find the little wins. Yeah. And sometimes they're hard to find. Because sometimes they're things that you take for granted every damn day. Uh-huh. Just like were you thankful for waking up this morning?
Absolutely.
I was too. Did you actually take thanks for that, though?
Yeah.
Well, some people don't. Yeah. I mean, I'm a God-fearing man. I don't always wake up in the morning and say, thank you, Lord, I'm awake, and I'm breathing, and I'm upright, and I got this opportunity. I don't always say that, but I mean, I am thankful, but actually recognizing it. The recognition portion is that the magic. It's the catapult from the one little win to the next big win.
You, like I always say, and it's been said a million times, you're as sick as you want to be.
Yep.
You're as happy as you want to be. You're as mad as you want to be. Sick, mad, sad. It's how much effort you want to put into it.
Bottom line.
I get up every day. This is my routine. Alarm goes off. I grab my glasses, grab my phone. I get some texts, some emails, whatever. First one, open the Bible, read the first verse. That's the verse of the day. A quick, thank you, big guy. I'm up. Let's rock and roll.
You did that this morning before I woke up?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
That's every day.
Good for you.
That's just how I was. It's not how I was raised, but that's how I changed about 2014.
Sure.
I just came to that spot.
Yeah, no, I've been waffling and waning in that spot for a long time.
And that's, I've tried to grow.
Yep.
Just keep growing.
Yep.
But I've also been one of those Mr. Circumstance.
Yep.
And I'm going to make a circumstance out of everything. My glass is going to be half full.
Yep.
I might blow a tire on the side of the road. Crap, I got to be here in 30 minutes. It'll wait.
Yep.
It's going to wait. Quit. Do you know what sucks in life? You know what will hurt your feelings every stinking time in everything? Work.
Kicking yourself in the ass over something stupid.
Expectations.
Yep.
You expect something, your feelings will get hurt.
Yeah. Life doesn't serve up expectations, man. It serves up cold, hard truths.
I will not. When I started realizing that probably 15 years ago, quit expecting anybody. I don't give anybody control over my happiness except for God and me.
Yep.
And that's how it's going to work.
Mm-hmm.
I put him first. He takes care of the rest. He'll get me the happy. And what a lot of people see when it's just dark, it's building for something better.
Mm-hmm.
If the forces of bad are against you, it's because the light's trying to shine through.
Exactly.
It's going to get better.
Yep.
It's darkest before the dawn, air quotes, it is. And it's going to. It's coldest before the dawn, too.
Yes, it is.
The temperature drops because it's going to warm back up and it's going to be a good day.
Yeah.
I have had so many, and it took me a few years in guiding. Guiding has taught me a lot in life.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's
having that moment.
Probably taught me one summer of rowing a drift boat, it's taught me probably more than a lot that I've tried to pound into my head.
Humiliation, self-gratification when nobody else is doing it.
It's two of the most very important characteristics in any person. Mm-hmm. Humility and self-recognition.
Yeah. You have to be your biggest fan.
Yeah. And you have to be able to pat yourself on the back and reward yourself.
Yeah.
Because
and however you want to reward yourself by, I'm going to have the biggie fries today. That's my reward for what I did. Go after it. Get it, Scooter. Do it. Make it yours. He woke you up to do it. Take it. And you can say what you want, but that's, like I said, you're as sick, happy, mad, sad as you want to be.
There is a reason that they say that golf, hunting, whatever your sport is, it's 80% mental. I actually would fathom it's 90 to 99% mental. It's 1% skill, especially if you play your hand to the right folk. Let's just say that.
I seen a thing the other day. Whatever excites you is part of your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It does something good for you. It's either an outlet or an inlet or both.
Mm-hmm.
It's doing something for you. Running these dogs, I go hunting I drove down on the 2nd after that. It was -8 when I got back in the truck. I didn't have a problem with it. There was no wind. A lot of people have been like, and I talked to people. I was like, you want to go hunting tomorrow? And they're, oh, no, it's too cold. It's not good on the dogs. I'm like, if they get out of the truck, we're going hunting. You know?
You might get a little pushback from this Minnesota boy on that kind of cold temperature.
But did I kill anything? Nope. I fired 2 shells. I didn't come home with squat. It was $200 in gas, almost. I took some me time.
What else have you been doing?
I'd been sitting at home doing nothing.
Yeah.
I'd been on my phone, or I'd found something to do with, my work stuff, or
watching TV,
whatever. TV, taking naps or whatever. I got out and ran my dogs. They didn't hate me for it. They were out there bouncing around. They were ready to go. They got bird contact. I saw birds. I hit one bird. Didn't get him. I mean, I got him, but never, I watched him sail all the way across the other end of the field. Watched him, never did find him. I mean, we went to him, and that was on private. And I was like, I don't care. I'm gonna go look for this bird. But I had a good time. And it was just me. I was my own cheerleader that day. I was also my worst critic, going, shoulder the gun, look down the barrel, stupid.
Well, you heard me being my own worst critic today, but I handled it really well. I would have, last season, I would beat myself up. You dumbass, you can't hit broadside of a barn. Today I just said, you know what, it's not my day to hit bobwhite quail. I'm nailing pheasants, just not quail today. It's okay.
Like I was
going to hunt tomorrow.
Guiding has taught me so much. I've had days where the dogs just didn't want to listen.
Yeah.
And like they're just being stupid for what there's just something is distracting them. And dogs are feeders. They're feeding off of us. And so I stop and I go, stop. I have whistled them in, stopped and got on my knees and brought them in and been like, come here. I just give them a little attention. I get a better vibe going back.
Yeah.
Get the good aura going in. There's the good vibrations and bringing them in. And then they're like, oh, hey, Dad. And then all of a sudden the day is better.
Yep.
Like we're back and the 4 of us are clicking. They know where I am where they are. I'm feeding, I'm seeing them. I've watched them like they're getting birdie and they'll look back over their shoulder like, Dad, this way. And we're sinking.
Well, that my last trip down here, day 1, prior to my truck breaking down, I had gotten kind of upset with the dogs because they were just being goofy, like I told you today, first day down, getting things confused, but I think I told Tyler the other day, like, yeah, you see these dogs work, like they're just not hustling, they're just pussyfooting it. They're
sloafing.
They don't even realize we're hunting yet. Yeah. Like I had that going on kind of for a couple hours, and I actually got really frustrated with little one because she was just walking behind me. We actually knocked a rooster down and we couldn't get him to hunt dead, and they were really excited and just kept pushing and wanting to move forward and not coming back and circling the area. And then I started, screw it, you ain't gonna go in them Phragmites, I'm gonna go find a damn bird. So I go in there and the little one's following me around and just pissing me off. It's like, That dog didn't hunt very good the rest of the day. But because she knew I was pissed at her.
Yeah.
And like you said, they're feeders. And next day came around, better attitude. She hunted better. I didn't want to repeat that same mistake, especially from day one. And every day I've woken up here now, it's day one again. It's day one. Day one.
It starts over every day.
Got it.
It's new.
Control your attitude.
Yeah.
Control the controllables.
Like we were talking about with Tyler and Colton and the puppy. Stop.
Yep.
Let it happen. Let that happen. It'll be bigger. It'll be
grow.
a lot bigger. Just it happens with me. It happens with every new puppy. It happens with every kid I take in the field. Every woman you take in the field that's her first hunting experience. Every first time hunter. You know, I watched a guy from Alabama kill his first pheasant. You would have thought you gave him $10,000. I was like, dude.
I'm yawning like a son of a gun over here, man.
There was
I made a little dent.
it's a dinger. Yeah.
I'm a cheap date, so I got a little buzz going.
There's nothing.
Well, if you don't have anything, I think we beat a few of these things pretty well to death tonight.
Yeah.
I appreciate the conversation, Todd. And, you know, for round 3, it turned out even better than round 1 and 2.
Yeah.
You know, we can't, you're going to have to, like, maybe be a stand-in on the show.
Anytime.
Yeah. No, seriously, though. Like, I enjoy your guy.
Yeah.
I need, like, Kansas has become kind of this second home for me. So, you know, and we still didn't talk about, you know, Johnson County Pheasants Forever, all these other things that we've touched base on. So I'm going to get you back on the show.
I guess if you twist my arm. Does it mean we're going hunting?
Especially tomorrow morning. But yeah, of course. I mean, I can duplicate this again.
Maybe you have to come down here and go turkey hunting.
I need a reel.
I know where there's a few.
All right, Todd. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. And
Thank you.
I appreciate everybody for listening to the Amazing Outdoors podcast. Thank you so much for hanging into the end of this show. I thought I'd pitch you one more time because you hung into the end of the show here to join and become a patron of the show. Go over to Patreon, check out the $5 VRP entry. It's really cheaper than 2 gallons of diesel, man. And they'll get you a couple entries to an upcoming drawing for a pair of Upland Outfitter pants. The link will be in the show notes. You can find it in Instagram. If you go to my website, it's everywhere. If you just want to reach out to the show, Brian@amazing.com. Love to hear from you. Again, thank you for listening to the show. Like always, join your local conservation group and get involved. And next time you go into the woods or out fishing, take somebody new along. Y'all be good. We'll catch up on the next show. God bless, and God bless America.